you can see that last thread of honor snapping in front of your eyes, and he says, please go inside. And then she doesn't. And then he says, go inside.
We know he wanted to go inside.
Inside her. Romancing the Monsters. I'm Em.
Hi, I'm S.
I'm Seth.
And this is part 2 of our Bridgerton Season 2 discussion. So before you listen to this, if you haven't listened to part 1, which was about episodes 1 to 4, please go ahead and do that, because this may not make a lot of sense to you if this is the first one you're listening to. But today we're going to focus on episodes 5 to 8, which is the angsty part.
Yeah.
This is where it really gets angsty. So episode 4, we left off with Anthony Bridgerton getting on one knee and asking
the wrong Sharma
Edwina
sister.
Sharma, the wrong Sharma sister, in marriage. So, episode 5, An Unthinkable Fate. Seth,
Yeah.
what happens?
All right. Well, right off the bat, the show starts off with the Bridgertons and the Sharmas going to visit the Queen, who more or less takes credit for the match and insists on hosting this wedding. And we know, we haven't talked about Lady Whistledown, but she's making it her mission, the Queen, to find out who Lady Whistledown is. And Anthony has become more remote and more colder. He's very much in the planning stage of this wedding, and Kate is ready to go back to India at this point, as soon as his sister gets married. Cut to a scene where Anthony is it's not the Sharma house, but Lady Danbury's house, where he needs the ring sized for Edwina's finger.
Okay, you're getting too far into it already.
I skipped all the random other people stuff.
I mean, but we need to start with the beginning, girl. The episode literally opens with Kate fanning herself, panting a little bit.
Oh, fine,
Oh,
and their
yeah.
hands almost touch.
Remembering the V, and then we have that beautiful shot, gorgeous shot of Anthony walking all determined towards her, and then the little pinky finger reaching out towards hers.
Yes.
And he says, Miss Sharma, and then they have that whole meeting with the Queen where literally the Queen says, oh, blah, 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 match, a love match type of thing. And then Kate's teacup literally rattles because she's so in shock. Yeah, you can't skip that stuff.
Oh my gosh, I was just briefly going on it, and then we would talk about it. So now we're talking about it.
Yeah, how did you guys feel about that beginning of the episode? Anthony is literally sitting on that sofa, that little couch thing with Edwina, and he's constantly looking at Kate. He's not even subtle.
Honestly, the fact that Edwina never noticed it beforehand, I just don't get it.
I think she does notice, no? I feel like there are moments where she kind of she sees, but she doesn't want to.
Well, she sees, but I don't know, she kind of just smiles it off, kind of just oh, great, they're getting along, but it's not in that way.
But I don't know if she fully understands maybe the energy between them. I think that's just what it is. She doesn't understand what's going on between them.
I mean, she does at some point. I don't remember which episode, but there is an episode where I think it's when they do the whole Haldi thing, where she kind of says oh, he doesn't look at me enough.
Yeah.
So I think she does notice that he's not looking at her, but I don't know that she notices that he's looking at Kate a lot. A lot.
Yeah.
Anyway, after the Queen thing, there's a brief mention of Eloise saying that she was going to a flower arrangement lesson.
Yeah.
Do you guys think this is like kind of a little Easter
nod.
egg? Yeah.
Yeah.
To her future love interest?
I thought so.
I don't know. Maybe
I mean,
I'm
I personally
reaching.
thought so, but then I don't know. I feel like people are really shipping her with Theo, so I don't know what they're gonna do with this show.
I mean, she's allowed to have Theo and then have Sir Philip. You know, she is not beholden to only one man.
Agreed.
So
True.
I don't know. I think it was kind of interesting. I mean, people kind of went even further than that by saying that she chose the yellow mallet during Pall Mall, and that means because he was wearing yellow. Apparently, I didn't notice that, but he was wearing yellow, and people were like, "Oh my god!"
Oh, people were actually really analyzing it then.
Yeah,
they dove deep.
People really do. And then there was a scene that we'll probably get to later, but like where the are they the cowpers? You know, like Cressida.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
They were saying like her parents, like when they mentioned like her being an only child, they all looked very like, you know, like they were full of tension and like they weren't looking at anyone. So people were like, is that like a kind of small nod to Sophie?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So we'll see.
I don't know. Something I didn't mention or forgot to mention in the part one. We didn't talk about the fact that mostly Kate, I would say, kind of drops her English accent when she's with Edwina. Did you guys notice that? That it like she puts on an accent when she's around like peer people?
I noticed that a lot with the Haldi ceremony scene where like all of them have a very like they speak very like they have an Indian accent. Like they really have a heavy one there. And then like you said, they like is it called code switching? Or like it's when like I don't know what it's called, but it's like when like like my parents do it all the time. Like they have like their Guyanese accent when they're at home and like when they're talking to family, but then when my mom's talking to like co-workers or colleagues or whatever, her accent changes and she sounds Canadian.
So yeah, and I did notice that. I mean, in the first couple episodes, you mostly just notice it when she's talking to Edwina. Edwina has one too, but definitely less so than Kate, I would say, which kind of hints at maybe like, you know, because I believe. No, wait. Were both of Kate's parents from India? Yeah. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Whereas Edwina's, like, her mom doesn't really have an accent because she's British. So it makes sense why Edwina's accent would maybe not be as, like, thick when she's, you know, with family. But I did notice that Kate started letting out her accent a little bit, like her real way of talking when she's around Anthony, and I just thought that was really cute. Like she's feeling more comfortable and doesn't want to like pretend to be English in his presence because she's just like, here's how I am, exactly how I'm meant to be. So I did notice that and love that.
And I love that that small little I guess scene of like comfort, but you also see it like later on in the show too. Like her accent is very much there whenever she's alone with Anthony.
Yeah.
And her sister and her mother.
Yeah. Which brings us to the scene that you were talking about, which is the scene in which Anthony says that he doesn't want to get trapped in an unthinkable fate, which is the ring scene. They're absolutely fucking sick for putting this in. Can we like I was sitting there like, no, they're not gonna have Kate try on the ring that is meant to be hers.
Yeah.
I was like, what the hell am I watching? And then like my mom is like, I watch with my parents. My mom was like, the glove does not mean they have the same hand size.
How did you feel, S, watching that? Were you sick to your stomach too?
Yeah, very angsty, it made me giddy, and then it made me nervous at the fact that I knew she was gonna come in. Mm-hmm. She was gonna catch them or whatever, and I thought that was gonna be a moment where she was kind of like realize, okay, like something is going on.
Well, they were so close when they walk into the room too. I'm like, how did nobody notice that?
Like the way like they're about to jump each other's bones, and then as soon as Edwina walks in, they like run away from each other.
And then the ring gets stuck and she can't get it out of her finger.
The ring gets stuck because it was always meant to be hers.
It was fate.
Mm-hmm. Listen, I have sisters. If I catch one of my sisters trying on my engagement ring with my man, I'd be like, hold on a minute.
I'd be like, I don't want that ring. Give me a new one.
Right? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
But I guess not Edwina, because she just trusts
She's
her
just
sister
clueless.
absolutely blindly that Kate wouldn't do that. Which she didn't mean to do that, okay? It just happened.
No.
Sometimes things happen.
The jeweler that just wanted all the food was like, yeah, just put it on. Put it on your finger.
Yeah, and the way he was like caressing it, like he grabbed her hand and
he got
he was looking at it,
closer.
she was looking at it, like both of them. Telling
It's
you.
like, I feel like Jonathan Bailey's really good at like the nuanced expression, or like the minuscule expressions, and like you kind of see, like, I don't know, this is how I interpreted it. Like he was like, it's meant to be here. Like he's looking at it, caressing it, and like just looking at it. The way he's looking at it, you're like, oh my gosh, she really wants this.
Right away, he started like talking about who it belonged to, what it means. Well, did he do that when he gave it to Edwina?
He probably just threw it and be like, here you go.
He literally just wanted to get rid of it and get it done with.
Yeah.
So, anyways. We get their first dance after this.
Isn't it not the walk and then the boat
promenade?
Scene?
Yeah. Wait.
Yeah, I think it's the walk and then the lake.
Oh, okay. Never mind. The first dance is in episode 4. Okay,
Yeah.
it's because I'm going back because okay, I know why I wrote this, because I pointed out that during their first dance, he's like, "Do you want me to reconsider?"
Mm-hmm.
And then here again, he says something like, again, like, yeah, he's like, "Would you like me to reconsider?" As she's trying on the ring and everything. So I'm like, he's real eager. Like he keeps like running away from the possibility, but also like throwing it out there just in case she says like, yeah.
That was my thing. I was kind of confused about that because, like you said, he's like running away from it, but then also like embracing the idea of it. But what in case she was actually gonna say, yeah, like I want to be with you? What happens then? Like,
I would love to see his reaction if she actually had said yes. Like, what would he have done?
Because like this was clearly like a fight between his heart and his mind.
So you're right. After this, we get Promenade with jealous Anthony Bridgerton.
So during this scene, we have Mr. Dorset come up to Kate, and he apologizes for his behavior earlier on, and Kate decides to go on a little boat ride with him, and Anthony is literally watching them like a hawk, not even paying attention to his own mother and his own fiance as they're talking about the wedding. He just has like a one-track mind and is just looking at Kate. What else does he do, guys?
It is a good shot.
It was a great
of
shot.
Mr.
Great
Jonathan
scene.
Bailey here. Like he's doing so little, and yet he's doing everything.
Yeah.
With his face, like just the way he's staring is so intent and intense, and just like zoomed in on one thing and one thing only, and you can tell with just like his eyes that he is absolutely unaware of what's going on around him. Like he could not care less.
That was a common theme with Kate and Anthony. Like whenever they like zero in on each other, like all sound falls away and there's just
But they don't even need to blur out like people around them. It's like they're doing it all by themselves, just with like their eyes. Yeah, to be looked at like that.
Ugh. Kate is a strong woman. I don't know,
right?
man.
She really is. Jesus Christ. Did you talk about like the boat?
I didn't. Okay, so no, I got to the part of him looking. So then Anthony decides to, what does he do? He goes up and decides that he's gonna be the one to, he
literally pushes the other guy out of the way,
right? And he decides to
and he
pull
doesn't
Kate
say
out.
anything. Mr. Dorset just like is like, okay.
He is like, it's just, I don't even know. He's just oblivious to everything.
Yeah.
And anyway, so she takes his hand. And when Anthony forces himself to step away, after she pulls her hand away from his hand, he trips over poor Newton and takes Dorset into the water with him. And it was a
really great scene.
Yeah, he takes off his coat, his cravat, everything basically, which he really didn't need to do, but he does do it. He's looking angry and wet. And it's a shame. Oh, well, we do love to see it, yes, but it is a shame that we don't linger more. I really thought when I saw that in the trailer, you know, like that scene in season 1 where Simon rolls up his sleeves, and we really linger on the fact that he's rolling up his sleeves and that his arms are like on show, and like Daphne's reaction to that where she's like super horny. I thought that we were gonna get this here, like kind of slow-mo type of thing where we really linger on the fact that shirt, that the thinnest shirt in the history of thin shirts.
Like, what material was it made out of?
Paper napkin.
It's napkin.
Paper napkin.
I really thought we were gonna linger on that, get like his abs looking all wet and sexy.
Yeah.
We didn't. It's like that's it. He comes out of the water, and we just get a shot of Kate being like intrigued.
I know. And then she's telling Miss Edwina it's not polite to stare, and she's literally exactly staring so hard.
Is that scene different in the book? Because in the book he gets wet as well, right?
I don't think he fully falls into the lake. I think his like legs are wet. He does?
I believe he does. And then he comes out and he's dripping wet. I remember. And then he's just yelling at Kate. Like, yeah,
I think he's just like angry. Like there's no like horniness attached to it. It's kind of just. But I think Edwina is wet too. Like I think she fell. I think they both fell.
Yes, they both fell in.
The serpentine. I still don't know how to pronounce that. But I mean, it was like a nice like homage to that scene from the book. I would say like it's clear that they were kind of going for that, because if you remember in the book, it's kind of similar where Anthony shows up at their house and Mary is sick with a headache and Edwina is out promenading with suitors. Yeah. So it's a little similar in that way. So like her and Anthony go for a walk to like, you know, go find them, and the rest is history. So, you know, a nice little nod. I'll take it, you know, even though could have lingered on that shot for a couple minutes, you know.
Agreed.
Do it like Bollywood style where it's really intense and we see it from all the angles and like multiple times with like,
and like the really slow-mo and the repeat and then slow-mo again. Yeah.
And you just see Kate like, oh my God.
No, honestly, like I was even saying when I was watching, I was like, this feels like I'm watching a Bollywood like movie because of how like Bollywood they were acting, like the couples, like they're little like they're circular, like the camera was like circulating them. That made no sense. What am I trying to say? Circling them.
Yeah. Like especially that final kiss in the epilogue is very Bollywood to me. How it's like it turns around them, you know, like it circles them, like you said, which is cool. Like it's a nice little nod. I'm sure they did it on purpose.
Yeah, I thought so too. But anyways, let's get back to this episode. Yeah. So what happens next, guys?
So he falls into the lake. Both mothers in this episode have a little talk with their child, aka Kate and Anthony, respectively. Yeah. Mary is talking to Kate. Mostly, what does she say to Kate again? Something about. Yeah. They're sitting in the gardens at Lady Danbury's house. Right. And in front of this fountain.
They're talking about her parents, no? Because that's when they find out that the parents are in England. And they're gonna join them for dinner. And something to do with that, no?
Oh, it's something. Okay, I remember. It's she starts saying something about choosing family. Choosing love over your family, because that's what she did, and that kind of rings a bell for Kate because she's kind of thrust into that situation where it's like, well, there's what I need to do for my family, and then there's following my heart, and I cannot follow my heart in this case, even though what Mary actually says is, you definitely should. It was worth it. I never regretted it a single day in my life. It wasn't easy, but I did it. So that conversation was important for that reason. And then Anthony also talks to Violet talks to Anthony. And what is that conversation about? It's also like quite important.
Just for him to be honest, with himself.
Does she know at this point? No, she doesn't know yet he has feelings. but she has noticed something's wrong, that he's not excited about the engagement. Oh, that's the thing. Yeah. She's like, you should be excited. Like, this is your wedding, is approaching, blah, blah, blah. Like, I feel like you look like you're going to the gallows or something like that, which is telling.
Yeah.
So I did like that because both mothers are, helping them kind of work through certain emotions or pushing them even deeper into their own denial. More specifically.
Well, this is the episode where they find out that the Sheffields, like I said, are in town and they are wanting to come over and speak to their granddaughter, Edwina. So Lady Danbury decides to invite them over for dinner and also invites the Bridgertons over for dinner as well.
Before that dinner, there's Edwina has a conversation with Kate in which Edwina calls Anthony by his given name, and Kate specifically says, "Has he asked you to call him by his given name?" And she says no. I was like, he hasn't asked.
And we all know in historical romance world, that's a big thing. So
I wrote, I cackled in evil. Like he hasn't asked.
No, so
He's
you
still
cannot
just
be
Mr. Bridgerton
using his
to
name.
You. Yeah, and has Anthony called her Kate? No, not yet, right?
I don't think so, not yet.
I have a feeling the first time he calls her Kate is when she falls off the horse. Like, he screams Kate.
He calls her Kate before then too.
This is so important. I know it sounds like trivial to some people, but this is so important. This is a major moment in a historical romance, okay?
No, it is.
We gotta get it right. But I'm gloating at the fact that Edwina never got the permission to call him Anthony. Right, so, the dinner itself with the Sheffield, what a kerfuffle that was.
Yeah. It was...
Drama ensued.
It was a very, very intense situation because Kate is worried that the truth will come out about the inheritance. And it actually does. Lord Sheffield does bring up the settlement that Edwina will receive for marrying a lord. And as Lady Danbury feared, the news stuns Edwina and Mary and also the Bridgertons. And they leave feeling used and just like betrayed in a sense.
Question about that. So when they are promenading, Lady Danbury says something to Kate about, they're as good as married in people's eyes. Only a huge scandal could, tear them apart at this point. Are you going to be that fool? And Kate is like, no. And she says, I didn't think so. Then, before the dinner with the Sheffields, I said it really weird. Sheffields. Kate is about to tell Edwina about it, and then Lady Danbury walks in right before she can do it, and I think she says something, and then they go to the dinner, and then obviously the truth comes out. And then there's just Lady Danbury and Kate left in the room. And Lady Danbury kind of like shrugs a little bit. So do you think she did it on purpose? Like, do you think Lady Danbury was trying to break them apart to use the truth of the whole dowry thing to get Anthony and Edwina, or mostly Edwina, to break up the engagement or something? Because it was very weird. Because she kept wanting Kate to tell her sister, be honest with her sister, but then suddenly she changed her tune, and then it almost seems to me like she did it on purpose.
That's a good point. I never even thought about it that way, to be honest. Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm a little confused.
Lady Danbury has, like, at least from this point, she's been like Team Kate. So I don't know. I could see her maybe doing something like that for sure.
Oh, for sure.
But then that also, it hurt her friendship with Violet as well. So
It did.
I don't know if that was intentional.
All right. Well, that's a question to ponder upon. If anyone has made certain observations and you have better, you have an answer for me, feel free to
have an answer.
Yeah, right. Feel free to reach us online and let us know. We would love to know. During the dinner, Did you guys notice that Anthony only speaks up when they start insulting Kate specifically?
Yeah. And the only person he's looking at usually this whole dinner, like every dinner, is Kate. Yeah.
Girl, there is this shot specifically when Edwina starts mentioning the hunting, and there's this shot of Anthony drinking. Why does he have to look this hot drinking? Like, it literally looks sexual. Because he's looking directly at Kate drinking out of, I don't know, maybe I'm making
everything
shit up.
But
like,
to me,
because he's thirsty.
Yeah. He was, but he made me thirsty. I was like, what the hell is this?
It was the thigh. He saw her thigh and he was like, ugh.
I don't know. He's like looking at her over the lip of his glass, and I was just like, this is sexual in some kind of way. I don't know. I think this was a nod. You know that scene in The Viscount Who Loved Me where they're at Aubrey Hall and Penelope is being kind of like bullied by Cressida, and Anthony swoops in, kind of saves the day, and like takes her arm and like leads her into the room, which is like a super high honor because like usually he wouldn't be escorting Penelope into that room. He'd be escorting like I think the highest ranking woman in, at Aubrey Hall, which is not her. Mm-hmm. But he does it to like prove a point, and then you remember how that chapter ends with Kate thinking he's a hero. So I wonder if this was like a weird flip on that scene where he does like jump in to help them, and he literally like throws the Sheffields on their asses outside
and
like,
disinvites them to the wedding.
Like, not only you're gonna leave now, but you're not even gonna wait in the house. Like, I don't care. Yeah. But where it kind of gets like is the fact that the effect that it has is that Edwina is now like in love, apparently. Like, she saw his like show of he was heroic in that moment, and now she's like, oh, but he defended us, like, I'm in love with him now. I was like, no.
And that's the only man I want, Kate.
Right. And that pisses me off.
Yeah, same.
Why is Edwina in love with this man?
He barely even, like, I guess, spoke 100 words to her, and she's in love with him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get it. He's hot.
You don't know the man. Why do you love him? Like, this is so superficial.
I really did not like what they did to her character in this show, but
yeah.
Nonetheless, this is the Edwina we have to work with.
Yeah. Plus, it bothers me that she says outright to Kate that she loves him, because you can see that for Kate, she's like, okay, then I must back off. Mm-hmm. Like, the whole reason why she, from this point on, keeps pushing for the wedding to happen is literally because she doesn't want to break her sister's heart. And so she's like, she told me she's in love with him, so I'll let her have him. Yeah. That's literally her mindset. So, and it pisses me off because we'll get to it, but Edwina doesn't see it that way. And I'm like, girl, she did it for you.
I know, yeah. Okay, we'll get to it. We won't talk about it now. You'll get to it.
We'll be mad about it.
We're even jumping ahead. We totally missed the study scene of Anthony and Kate.
Well, we're there. Okay, the dinner happened. It was
everyone's hating on Kate because she knew and like no one else did, and she never told anyone.
Kate runs after Anthony, begs him to have a chat. Yes. So they go into this like study room. I don't know what kind of room it is. And drawing room, and they chat.
Yeah, they do. They do more than chat.
My notes literally say in all caps, and it is not far enough. And then, bane of my existence, an object of all my desires. And then, do you even know all the ways a lady can be seduced? The things I could teach you.
The way he whispers every single phrase. Yeah. Like, this is what I'm saying. He gets really breathy in these, like, moments.
It's good tension.
And to think, like, you're the bane of my existence was, like, just, like, I think it was, like, inner narrative for him in the book. So I have it. And so all he had, like, he was just thinking about it as he was looking at Kate. And then there was Kate Sheffield, the bane of his existence and the object of all of his desires, all at once.
Oh, so that's straight out of the book. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's cool. I love that.
But they just made it a dialogue for him in the show, which I love.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good that they made it a dialogue.
Yeah, that scene was something.
Hot.
Yeah.
I couldn't.
And Lord Anthony Bridgerton said with his whole ass chest, if I marry your sister, I'm gonna cheat on her with you.
The way this man who's like, I have honor, I am a gentleman, but he's like, no, I will cheat on my wife to be with you.
I love it. He's so messy. Like, I love him.
I love it. And I feel like the scene, like, while, yes, the dialogue was amazing, like, the way it was portrayed was amazing, but I also feel like the way it was shot was also really purposeful in the sense where, like, the shaky, constantly moving shot resembles, like, at least how I saw it, was, like, the turmoil within them and, like, whatever, like, is in between their relationship at this point, like, that they don't want to name. It's just, like, it was really interesting that they decided to do that in the scene.
Again, lots of breathing.
Yes.
I think after he says, like, do you know all the ways a lady can be seduced? I could teach you whatever.
I could teach you the ways of the Force. Yeah.
Inappropriate uses of the Force. Why is this Star Wars?
I don't know.
Probably because it's Pride and Prejudice.
Yes.
Esque.
Yes.
Anyways, yeah, she lets out this like breath that just says so much, you know. She's just like, it's just like a kind of like a sigh, but like a horny sigh.
Yeah.
And it works perfectly. Yeah, it just works perfectly to say everything that she doesn't say, you know, like, you know exactly how she feels about what he just told her. Like, she's feeling quite overwhelmed, and like, you know, obviously emotions and hormones are running high. It was great. I loved it. And the way he, like, they get so close, like literally their lips are touching but they're not kissing, and then he pulls away, and the way he pulls away,
yeah, it was like he was literally like being yanked back, but like you can see that like his honor is literally it's like actually hanging by a thread, like it's legit at that point.
But also in the sound design is interesting, because when they're so up close, there's no sound, and then when he decides like, no, I need to not do that right now, you actually hear like a it's like, and like the sound comes back. So it's like you were so up close in their bubble, and then suddenly it's like, no, there's the world around us, and we can't be doing this, and we shouldn't be doing this. And so I do love that, the little like attention to detail here.
For sure. And I feel like I see a lot of comments, people saying like their love scenes and like I guess their romantic scenes were like, they felt very personal, and like you just didn't know if you should be watching them. But I really felt like their scenes are so personal and like just done in a way that like the intimacy is so strong and just so well done. So
after this is actually the moment where Edwina says that she loves Anthony, and my note is literally Edwina saying she loves Anthony. What, girl? And then the episode finishes with Kate and Anthony meeting in the woods again. That's like their spot, I guess, their thing. And Anthony is ready to break things off. He's like, maybe this is good actually, because now I don't have to marry her, and like if I don't marry her, I don't have to see you ever again, and blah 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 blah. And you know, she was just told by her sister that her sister loves him, so Kate pushes him to go forth with the wedding, because she's like, we can't break my sister's heart that way. I can't be the reason for my sister's heart being broken, and I can't be the reason for your honor to be in jeopardy. Even though it is from day one.
I know. And she also says like whatever it is between them will pass, because it has to. And like, I don't know if she believes that herself, that, you know, whatever they feel for each other will pass. But yeah, Anthony was so down bad for Kate that like she legit said, go marry another woman tomorrow. And he's like, yeah.
I mean, he says like very well, but the way he says it, again, very good with the intonation and like what he puts. I don't know acting, but he knows acting clearly, because the way he says that very well is just like really good. And then he, you know, rides away, and you just have that shot of Kate like literally bawling.
That broke my heart, because like you know that she's like, Kate is selfless, like you know that she's putting her own desires and her own happiness behind, and like she would do whatever she wants for her sister. And it's just like in that moment you see how much this is breaking her, because she's always like such a strong woman, you know, and she always puts on a strong front.
So we get to episode 6, The Choice. Boy, oh boy, this was
a doozy of an episode.
The angstiest. Yeah, I think like when I first watched the season, I think at this point of the season I was still like, there's no way they're gonna go with it. Like there's no way we're making it to the wedding day. Like come on, like something's gonna happen. This engagement's gonna be broken up. Something. We literally make it to the altar.
Vows are gonna be exchanged.
Yeah. We literally make it to the moment where Anthony is supposed to be, I, Anthony Bridgerton, take you. Like, we literally make it to that second.
Yeah.
Anyways, before all of that, the episode begins with the Haldi ceremony.
Yes, the Haldi scene. For those, I mean, you saw it, so you know what it is, basically. And it was like to a cover of like one of the most iconic songs ever from Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham, which is like a ultimately famous like Bollywood movie. And can I just say, like, just the idea of hearing Kabhi Khushi Kabhie Gham in like a Hollywood show, a Hollywood production, was amazing. And like literally I was like tearing up, and my whole household literally had to stop doing what they were doing and just like actually listen, and we're like, oh my gosh.
It's really beautiful too. The rendition, and like you can find it on YouTube. Loved it. I loved it too.
Although I don't like what we were seeing. Kate's like so sad, and as she's rubbing like the Haldi on her sister, and like her mom is like, you know, all about like, you know, he loves you, he like adores you. And then we also have Anthony on the side, like as the music's still playing, he's like with his brothers, and like they're
drinking,
you know,
himself
toasting
to death.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are a few moments here though that are, you know, Kate has this like good line about you know, about passion is fleeting, looks are fleeting, but you know, love is a connection of the soul, or souls that dance, or something like that. Yeah, and then you have Anthony. I just love the line where Benedict is like, are like once you're married, are you finally gonna stop talking about your duty? And then Anthony's like, duty is like me reminding you of my duty is part of my duty, so no. But then also Benedict saying like, well, in a short while we'll have like a tiny Anthony to contend with, which will probably remind us of his duty as well. I just loved Benedict in this scene, like completely not oblivious to his whatever his brother is going through, but just not caring.
Yeah, I think Benedict throughout this whole season, like, he's so needed. I love him.
Isn't it him too that says like, oh, you seem to basically like fast forward everything at the moment, including your drinking, and he's like, for the sake of your bride, I hope that the wedding night is not the same, or something like that. Anyway, Anthony is in his angsty era, so he's very much like, you know, dark and broody and internal at this point.
Like he's going to his own funeral,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We get to the wedding day, and we have this scene of Anthony getting ready for his wedding, and Daphne walks in because she knows what she saw. And I love that she's like, well, I'm late because I had my doubts that something would actually happen today. I love her for that.
I just loved her this whole season.
The whole season. But she does say something quite important. She says, I mourn for you, brother. All these decisions that you seem to make and then resent us for, though they do not make you worthy of your family's respect, they simply make us pity you. I was like, truth. Ouch, but also facts.
Yeah.
Also facts.
It was facts for sure.
I thought that was going to be a moment for him too.
Of realization, yeah. I was like, this is the moment. Come on. Like, time is ticking.
No, but then he sticks to this whole, like, my honor, like, I'm a gentleman, like, I have to do this, and, like, you know, he's doing this for the family he has and not the family he might want, which is simply heartbreaking.
Take a shot every time Anthony Bridgerton says the word duty, honor, or gentleman in season 2, and you will be drunk. We get the scene with Kate's bangles.
Yes.
I was like, Edwina better not fucking take them.
I was so freaking pissed. I was like, girl, take those bangles off your wrists now. They're not yours, bitch.
Girl. The one thing you should keep for yourself.
Yeah, but it's like, it's Kate, it's your mom's bangles. It's the one, maybe not the one thing you have of your mother, but your mom, like, she would want you to be wearing them at your wedding. And I know you don't ever see yourself getting married, but, like, that's the one thing you have of your mom. Keep it for yourself.
Yeah.
Don't give everything to Edwina. Like, you've already given her so much. You're giving her, like, your man.
Literally.
But then Edwina is like, no, Kate, you wear them.
Yeah.
Thank
God. That's the last redeeming thing she did.
I know.
The whole season.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna get, like, people to cancel us here.
Well, I mean, let's make something clear. Like, Charithra, she did an amazing job. She was so convincing. You know, like, we're not talking about her as a person. She was amazing because, like, I believed so much in Edwina that I was genuinely frustrated and, like, angry with her.
No, Charithra was really good as Edwina. I will say that. And I hope, like, if she's in the next season with her and the prince, which, not spoiler, you guys already know that.
We'll talk about it.
But, I would be down for it.
Yeah, they would fit perfectly, actually.
Yeah.
The two sweet people together, just living a life of sweetness together.
Yeah, I would watch it.
We get to the wedding.
Oh, gosh.
Anthony is standing watching Kate walk down the aisle, and you know that meme where it's like, that is the moment he knew he fucked up.
Yeah.
That was Anthony in that scene, watching Kate walk down the aisle and realizing that she is not the woman he is marrying today. His eyes. The way he had eyes only for her.
And I thought it was, like, the intensity in which he looked at Kate. I feel like it made the whole audience be like, that's the bride. So they all turned around, right? Unless that was just, like, what you do at, like, a wedding. I guess you do look at everyone, but, like, the way he, like, looked at her, everyone was like, they turned so quickly to look at who was walking down the aisle, and it was Kate.
And I love that when it's Edwina walking down the aisle, both Kate and Anthony kind of, like, smile a little, but it's, like, kind of in, like, a brotherly, sisterly way. Like, it's like kind of in a proud parent kind of way. Like, it's not the intense stare that he had for Kate. You see the difference right away. Yeah. But it is nice to see both of them, like, smiling anyway, you know, because Edwina does look good, and, you know, she looks happy, she's smiling, so, you know, both of them acknowledge that, so that is cute of them, you know. It's not, like, so angsty that they can't recognize that it is a happy day for at least one of them. My note says, not only are they sick to take this engagement all the way to the wedding, but what they're really sick for is having Anthony look directly at Kate the whole time and have him picture her as his bride instead of Edwina.
That was so bad. And, like, the way that you saw Violet and Daphne's face too, like, right before, like, that whole, like, I guess, dream of having Kate as his bride, like, they look miserable. They look like they, like, are at a funeral.
Yeah. Was there not, like, in this time period, was there not the whole, like, oh, does anyone object to this wedding? Like, was that not a thing?
No, but I feel like they know that Anthony's pretty much resolved to, you know, have this as his fate.
Yeah. How did you guys feel about the whole wedding?
It should have been Kate up there, actually wearing the wedding dress. It was definitely angsty.
Honestly, I was really peeved the show did not give me a Kate and Anthony wedding.
Well, it was such a tease, right? Because it's like we saw something, like his vision of their wedding day, but not the actual wedding day, nor did we get their actual first sex scene, but we'll get into that. I was like, no fucking way that he is standing there about to recite his vows and all he's looking at is over Edwina's shoulder or head, really, because she's so short, straight at Kate the whole time, and she's looking right at him.
Yeah. Well, at first she was looking like at the wall because I guess maybe she couldn't look at her sister and the man that she loved. But then she does lock eyes with him, and like you see the pain in her eyes, and I'm like, stop this wedding now.
And then we get an interesting moment. She's kind of toying around like anxiously with her bangles.
Yeah.
And one of them falls, and he picks it up. Now,
he dives to pick it up as the vows are about to,
he's literally like, fuck this wedding, this is more important, actually. But am I wrong, or did I read somewhere that bangles are traditionally given to a bride by her future groom as a gift?
Yeah.
So that's significant in that way, like the fact that he picks it up and gives it back to her.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then I think that that's a pretty nice touch. Little significance here, if you know the context and like, you know, what it means for him to pick it up and give it back to her. My next note literally says, so this is the episode I really start hating Edwina.
Yes.
S, how about you tell us what happens after he picks up the bangles?
So after the whole bangle little moment, that's when Edwina notices and finally realizes that they have eyes for each other.
How is that the moment?
Okay, to be honest, what in case she saw it and it's like maybe at the back of her mind, but like it finally she can no longer ignore it. Maybe those little looks that she had that like, you know, her confusion or moments of doubt that we saw, like maybe she always knew but she didn't want to put a name to it.
And then she ends up running away. She says that she can't go through with it, or she needs a moment or something like that. Something, right? Yeah. And then she ends up running off. Her mom chases her, and I thought for a second that Anthony was gonna go after her. I thought that was gonna continue, you know, but he doesn't, and then Kate realizes that she should go after her sister.
Yeah.
Not before looking at you know, she looks at Anthony first, and then she's like, oh wait a minute, maybe I have to go. Maybe I should.
Yeah. And she runs off, and that's when they go into the room, and Edwina's like losing it
and insults her sister. Sorry, her half sister.
God, that was so unnecessary and cruel.
The fact that she actually said half sister, like that made me feel some type of way. It made my blood boil. And then kind of I felt that Mary kind of pushed her away as well. Hated her. That was my moment where I'm like, okay, no, I had hate.
Because like, you know, Kate has put her all into this family, and like, you know, like her intentions were good, and of course, like she didn't think about the repercussions if her sister ever found out. But it's like just the idea of her sister that she loves so much, calling her her half sister, whereas like Mary, like before that moment, never differentiated between her daughters and like never made them feel less, or like made Kate feel like she wasn't a Sharma, or like she was unwanted in any moment until like, you know, up until that point. And it's just like, it's so heartbreaking.
Before this moment, Edwina is just like, you know, mild annoyance just at the fact that she seems like completely unaware of what's going on, and like, you know, is falling in love with this dude that she doesn't even know. But you can't really blame her for that, because, you know, they are keeping it from her. So, you know, how would she know? You know, for her, she's just trying to fall in love with this guy that she's supposed to marry, which is like, you know, a good thing. You know, she's open to the idea of him. But from this moment on, because during that scene, she makes it sound like it was a selfish choice on Kate's part, which pisses me off, because it couldn't be further from the truth. Because the actual truth of the matter is that Kate was ready to throw away her shot at happiness and at love with this guy for her sister. Yeah. And for that to be twisted into something cruel, you know, she literally says, like, I'm not the cruel one here, implying that Kate is being cruel, which is like, what the actual F? Yeah. I wasn't happy with that. And then, like that scene ends with Mary telling Kate, like, go away. And then it breaks my heart because Kate has no one and nowhere to go. She's for comfort. Like, she is utterly alone in that moment. Her life is falling apart around her. Her sister just called her half-sister when she's never done that before. Her mom is not even comforting her or asking questions. She's telling her, go away. You're not needed or necessary here.
Yeah.
Kate finds herself in the closet. She throws her bangles to the floor in anguish, falls down, and starts crying because she's literally alone. Well, I mean, first off, she leaves the room, sees Anthony like running up the stairs. She's like, oh, I'm not ready for that. Then goes into the closet by herself. But it's so sad. It really broke my heart.
It was like she breaks down. Like, she's been holding everything in for like the longest time ever, and like you can actually see like the guilt weighing on her when she like falls down on the ground and starts sobbing.
You just feel how alone she is in that moment. And then I hate the show for not necessarily allowing us to live in that moment, because we're making it sound like it's all very cohesive and stuff here because we're mostly just talking about the Bridgerton bits, but like keep in mind that this is like cutting in and out of like other stuff, nonsense that's happening with like the Featheringtons and stuff. So I really hate that like this like following this is like something else, and I'm like, are you kidding me that our leads are going through this right now and you're cutting to something else that's happening with like the Featherington nonsense? Like, I was disrespected in that moment. I felt disrespected.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not even cutting to like something of the same intensity. It's literally like cutting to them like talking about fake rubies or something like that.
Yeah, like they're, you know, in the gardens, like walking around, like trying to figure out like what's the scoop, like what actually happened to like, you know, like I'm like, this, are we really cutting to this right now when Kate is crying in a closet upstairs all by herself?
Yeah.
Really? So Anthony does talk to Edwina and he says my favorite fucking sentence in the whole world. I understand you. I sympathize with you. I loved it. I loved every cruel second of that.
Yeah, because she really does ask him like point blank, Edwina, like, do you love me? And he's like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say, but like he does like mention their standing in society. Like she's a diamond and like he's the Viscount, and it just makes sense. Like that's how he worded their relationship, and Edwina was like, I guess, under the impression that like love will grow. But no, like that was never, we know from the beginning that was never at all his intention with Edwina.
But she knew that too. There's a moment where she realizes, like, she mentioned something.
I think she believed him, maybe not in love with her, but at least interested. You know, the way he puts it, it's like he's not really interested in her at all. I mean, she literally says, like, do you want this wedding or do you want me? And there's a huge difference here because he wants the wedding. He just wants to get it over with and have a viscountess. He doesn't want her. Which then she questions, like, well, what about Kate? And I'm like, wait a minute. Well, I mean, first of all, he says, and here are my notes, the thorn easily removed from our lives. Anthony Bridgerton, my knife is ready to find your chest.
Yeah.
That is what he says of Kate after she asks, what of my sister?
I was confused with that as well, the way he worded it.
I mean, I think he clearly is just trying to convince himself, like, you really think it's going to be that easy? I also think it's a reference, if I remember correctly, when he's in an earlier episode, you know, like they're getting shaved, and I think he calls Kate a rose or something about thorns. Like he's like, every rose has thorns or something like that.
Yeah.
So I wonder if it's a small reference to that he's like once again calling her a thorn. But I was like, Anthony fucking Bridgerton, why you're talking about her that way?
Yeah.
I did not like it. Anyways.
Me either.
My next point was that their exchange kind of ends with like a question up in the air. And I was like, Edwina, your sister just revealed to you that she is in love with this man, and you're honestly still considering marrying him?
Well,
what
she's not Kate. She's not Kate. She's selfish.
I know. I was like, you're the one that sounds cruel and selfish here when your sister just revealed something so huge like that she clearly loves this man. You're gonna go through with it? And then what? Just never see her ever again? How?
I don't know. Like, okay, I think how I saw that scene is more like Edwina has never had to live a life of hardship. Like, Kate's always made sure she had everything for her. Like, she had no struggle in her life, so she doesn't really understand like what Kate had given up, and like she doesn't understand at all like what hardship could be like.
So Anthony and Kate find themselves in that closet together.
Yes,
they have a little moment, lots of breathing once again.
Well, this is after she decides to pick herself back up and put the bangles on, and then she sees Anthony.
Yeah, I love that she comes out of the closet, like walks away, sees him, panics, runs back, and then he's like, no, we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
I love that you run after her. Anybody wants to talk about the moment in the closet? Or
I mean, despite everything Anthony says about her being this thorn that was removed, he still can't bring himself to let her go. She's about to leave and he just does not let her go. He holds on with like all of his strength and does not let her go. So, like I said, it's a fight between his heart and his mind, and he wants Kate, but the situation is so fucked right now that I don't know.
Kate goes back to Edwina. This time Mary's absent, and Edwina literally says, "If I choose to go through with this wedding, it will have nothing to do with you." And I'm like, bitch, what the fuck? How?
It's fucked up.
That's fucked up. You know she loves him.
I know.
And you're like, if I go through with it, it has nothing to do with you. Like, you know, you had nothing to do with it. I'm still gonna go through because I want it. And it's like, who's the selfish one now?
Exactly. You are just selfish and like not thinking about anyone else. You're definitely not Kate.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's heartbreaking. Like, again, I'm going back to like everything that Kate has sacrificed means nothing to Edwina at all. Like, nothing. And I understand Edwina is rightfully hurt. I understand it. I get it. Her own sister that she thought, you know, they were really close with never told her this. But it's just like, when you're angry, you don't think about what you say or what you do, I guess.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's just so heartbreaking.
It's not like Kate did any of that for her own personal interests.
Yeah, I know.
Then you could call her selfish. But she's getting nothing out of this. She's losing everything by having you go through with it. And then yet she's still choosing that for your sake. It pisses me off. And then Edwina starts scheming, sending word to Anthony, making him think that it's Kate, then sending word to Kate, making her think it's Anthony. Yeah. Both of them are in the chapel, and she appears. And I'm like, what was that? Why would you do that? Just say, I want to talk to you. Why make them believe that the other has sent word? Like, am I the only one thinking that that's a little effed up?
No, she's being conniving.
That's effed up.
Yeah.
Like, who's playing games now? Why would you do that?
And then she has the gall to be like, I'm like I don't know, she didn't say it in this way, but she's basically saying like, I'm the one that's winning. Like, you guys, you know, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But it's just like the way she did it and the way she went about it. I'm like, girl, you're not winning. Yeah,
she's like, this is victory enough for me. I'm like, why does anyone need to win? Like, yeah. This is not a game. This is your life. This is everyone's life. Happiness. Why are we playing games with everyone's happiness? And not only is she conniving, scheming behind the scenes to get them there, but then she's doing that just to show up and bitch on them some more. But together this time, not separately. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? This is not the Edwina I know and that I loved in the book.
I know. And that was one of my, like I said, the biggest gripes in the series was like, I loved Edwina in the books. I thought she was an amazing character. She's the biggest Kanthony supporter. And then in here, she's like a totally different person. She's not the Edwina we know.
She literally says something about like, she says to Kate something like, now you don't have power. You've lost your power. I'm like, in using the word power implies that, like, at least to me, that Kate was being a little bit of a tyrant, you know, like playing puppeteer and like pulling the strings and like controlling, and you know, power means like, I don't know, it's a very bizarre word to use here for me, because it just makes what Kate was doing by protecting her sister, it like paints it in a very negative light, like a very ill light, you know what I mean? Like, it's just power dynamics are bizarre here.
But maybe, like, in that, I'm playing devil's advocate here, but maybe for Edwina, that's how she saw it. Like, maybe she was, in a way, a tyrant, in the sense where, like, she was, like, the master player, like, putting all these pieces together in her head. Like, that's how she sees Kate. And then now she has no power because, like, the blinders have been lifted off from Edwina. And she knows exactly what's happening and what isn't happening.
But here's the question. The only real choice that Kate took away from Edwina, I guess, is the fact that they went to London for a season. Besides that, Edwina chose Anthony all on her own. Why are you acting like she pushed you towards Anthony, that she pushed you towards marrying him? It was all your decisions all along. Kate literally just went along with it because she thought that would make you happy. Therefore, she went along with it. Like, why are you acting like somehow Kate was planning this behind the scene? Like, of course she wasn't. Of course, she didn't plan on any of this. She didn't plan on her own feelings. And if anything, you pushed Kate towards Anthony.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And, like, I hate when she, like, literally calls out Kate and she's like, you're, like, you pushed all the things you wanted onto me, blah, 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 and now I'm gonna make my own decisions. Like, that's great for you, and I'm happy, like, you're having this, like, this learning experience for yourself, but, like, the way that you made Anthony and Kate feel, obviously, yes, I understand what they did was wrong.
Don't act like you had no part in it.
Yeah.
You know, we're not saying that they're blameless, obviously, but you also played a part in it. You were all involved in it. You all did wrong. And now you're acting like, you know, I don't know. Anyways, moving on. What happens after that when she leaves? Finally.
Oh, between Kate and
and
Anthony, they talk and they discuss about their feelings, and then I believe Kate,
she says goodbye.
Yeah, they're saying goodbye, that they're gonna end it, like that's it, nothing's gonna happen, and then they're like magnets, and then they crash.
And then they smoosh.
And then this is their first kiss, right?
Finally.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's explosive because they literally like
crash into each other.
Yeah.
And it's at a church too. It's inside a
before
church.
God.
Just like a husband and a wife, or a bride and a groom, in front of God and all his disciples. Yeah.
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 They were married in that moment, spiritually, sexually.
Yeah.
I didn't believe it actually happened. I really thought was it another dream? I don't know. I was like, it was real. And it was like magnificent.
Yeah, they finally kiss. At this point in the season, we have been waiting for this for a while. They have so many like almost kisses where they're literally breathing air into each other's mouth, but like not quite kissing. But finally they do. And it was glorious. And I do appreciate that we really linger on that. Like that kiss is long. In the greatest way.
It was a great scene. I like the way her hands are in his hair. It was hot. It was a hot first kiss.
Yeah. They didn't like make it overly sexual, which I think is because it's happening in a church. That'd be a little a little wrong, perhaps. But yeah, and that's literally how the episode finishes, isn't it?
Yeah.
It ends with that kiss.
Backtrack a little bit. What did you girls think about that whole scene with the queen and Edwina and like the king? I felt like they were trying to like make Edwina seem
likable again.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. It was a little weird.
I got that vibe too.
The scene is beautiful, you know, out of context. Like, I do love that Edwina steps in and, like, says, you know, something to make him feel good, you know, because he's feeling quite lost and, you know, probably on the verge of something. And the queen looks a little, like, distressed that this is happening, you know, amongst company that are perhaps most definitely not aware of the king's condition.
Yeah.
So I do love that Edwina, like, you know, makes it sound like this is their wedding day and he's got to go get some rest to be prepared for their wedding day. And, you know, she plays along with it, which I think, yes, like, that does serve to, like, you know, remind us that she's supposed to be this kind-hearted, you know, perfect girl that always know what to do and what to say. But at this point, I'm so mad that it didn't do anything for me.
My takeaway from that scene was like, just the queen in general. Like, from the beginning of the season, we see her as, like, this strong pillar that, like, holds this country together, and then you're kind of, like, reminded of, like, this vulnerability that she has, and, like, the man that she loves, you know, it is there, but he's not actually there. Like, she struggles a lot with that, and I feel like, I guess it allows us to empathize with her a bit, because and not that I forgot that her husband has Alzheimer's, but, like, I just, like, of course we didn't see him all season, so I thought that was important to include.
Yeah. Do you feel like the queen was more nuanced as a character in season 1 than season 2?
I only watched season 1 the one time.
She felt very flaky to me in this season. Like,
she was all about Lady Whistledown this season.
Yeah, but then, like, 1 minute she's, like, planning for someone to be with someone else, and then, like, the next minute she has this, like, tender moment or whatever, and then, you know, like, I don't know, it was I couldn't, like, quite get a grip on her and where she's at and who she is in this season. It was a little bizarre for me. She was there.
Do you think the prequel series with the queen, do you think it's gonna be, like, a flashback, like, / like, going back in the past, coming back into, like, the present time? Do you think that's gonna happen, or do you think it's just gonna be, like, a prequel series?
No, I think it's just a prequel series. I mean, her love story is bound to be, like, quite romantic. I have to admit I don't know much about Queen Charlotte and, like, that actual story, but I mean, she does say they have 15 kids, and I know that they did love each other, so, you know, maybe, like, an epic love story in the making. I don't know.
Does she have a book or no?
No, the queen's not even in the series, like, the book series.
Oh, she's not?
No.
I'm curious as to why Edwina and the queen have so many scenes together, and, like, they seem to, like, connect on a level that we don't see at all with the queen.
Yeah. I remember this being a little bit of a gripe for me in this episode. Kind of like I mentioned when Kate is in the closet. I hated how we like cut away from that in such an important moment. I felt like we were spending so much time, like, how does Edwina feel about this? And, like, what's Edwina doing in this moment? And, like, what does she think? You know, like, I was like, she's not the main character here. Like, why are we cutting away from my main characters who are going through shit? Like, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm down for, like, a scene where we see how Edwina reacts, like, of course. But why do we keep going back to her? This is not the Edwina episode as far as I know.
But, like, again, this shows that Edwina had another, like, outlet in a way. Like, she was able to talk to the queen about what she's going through as well, because the queen wanted to know if she was gonna go through with the wedding or not. But then also, like you said, Kate had no one, and I kind of would have liked to see a scene with maybe even Lady Danbury and Kate, you know, like her having heart-to-heart with Lady Danbury. But I do like that we got to see Lady Danbury and Lady Violet mend their relationship as well. Like, they just died of laughter. Love that scene.
They're just like, I don't know anymore.
Yeah, they're like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah, it's so fun to see such, like, poised, you know, women that usually know exactly what's up and what they're gonna do, and they always have a plan. And both of them are just like, I'm lost for words. Like, I don't know how we're gonna get out of this one.
Yeah.
All right. Moving to episode 7, Harmony.
Well, the episode starts off with Edwina still being very much icy towards her sister, and not at all, like, willing to mend that relationship anytime soon. And Kate is obviously struggling with that. Mary is, like, she's talking to Kate, of course, and, like, she's telling her, like, you know, it takes time, like, just hold on. But then the Sharmas and the Bridgertons are also, like, suffering a lot in the public eye because of, like, the scandal that ensues from, you know, the wedding not happening. And they're shunned.
Is that not bizarre, though? I really thought they were above scandals like that.
It was pretty scandalous.
Like, I mean, is it? It's just a wedding that ended? I mean, maybe it's... I don't know. Like, I didn't think it was that.
But back then, that was scandalous. Like, weddings, like, no matter what, they happen. If they don't happen, then something's wrong with you.
But they're such a huge family and so, like, highly regarded that I really didn't think that anything could truly... Because even when the whole Colin thing was revealed, like, people still talked to them. Like, people still wanted to get invites to Bridgerton House. Like, it didn't... So I feel like that was much more scandalous than, like,
maybe because he's, like, the patriarch of the Bridgerton family.
Maybe.
That there has to be something wrong with him if this wedding didn't go through.
Or because the Queen was hosting it, maybe.
Yes. Yeah, that could be it, too.
That makes sense.
Even though it would have been in her interest to try to squash that rumor before it gets out, but I guess she didn't. So, or like spin it in a way where it's like, oh no, it was, you know, both sides were totally in agreement that it just wasn't gonna happen.
Well,
Whatever.
I mean, she did it, but a little bit
but
too
afterwards,
late, but it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So what happens? Because both of them are like, nobody's talking to us.
So that happens, and then Violet suggests maybe co-hosting a ball to prove that this wedding doesn't affect the relationship, and it was a mutual decision, as well as public outings together.
Where Kate and Anthony are to be like on either side of the room at all times.
They need to stay away from each other for this to work, and this discussion comes about as Newton comes in and Kate bends down and her bosom is in Anthony's face and he just cannot look away.
And he sniffs her twice in that scene. He
Yeah.
stays real close. Like he could have, you know, they didn't have to be that close. But then both of them are very close and then they stay there. And that's when Edwina goes, was I really that blind?
But like I said, they're like magnets. They just gravitate towards each other.
Yeah.
And then what does Edwina... Okay, Edwina's line was hilarious because, like, she's so, like, dumb. They wrote her so dumb. She's like, was I really this blind? I'm like, yes, you were. They were like this from the beginning.
You were. And, like, Lady Danbury's and Violet's face says it all. Yeah, you were.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were. So he sniffs her. Oh, I wrote, this is the episode where Anthony Bridgerton sniffs her constantly.
He literally does not stop sniffing her.
He is such an animal, and Lady Danbury's having none of it. None of it.
It was so primal and so hot, and I couldn't handle it. How did you feel about the sniffing?
It was great. I love the sniffing. Very horny.
This is something that, you know, we were used to reading stuff like that in books, but I never in a million years imagined seeing that kind of behavior on screen. Yeah, and I loved it. I lived for it. I'm still living for it.
I love it. Like, the idea, okay, so this is something that happens in Turkish shows all the time, like, where the men become obsessed with her scent. Like, they are sniffing her all the time. So, like, I love seeing it. I don't know why. It's just, like, I guess a trope that I developed. And I absolutely love it. And, like you mentioned in the first episode, it's just, like, it's very much, like, it's giving me Westcliff vibes with Lillian. And I love it. I just love the sniffing. Give me more everywhere.
Yeah. And again, like, he's so good because when they're at the art gallery thing, when he sniffs her, there's like that, it's like a fraction of a second where he's got the tiniest little smile, like the tiniest little smile. But like, it speaks volume. It's just, I love it. It's so small, the changes in his face, but it says everything.
He's like, so good. But then he opens his eyes.
Well, Lady Danbury's like,
No, but what was funny, like, during that scene when they were all talking, like, concocting a plan, Lady Danbury literally uses her stick to, like, move them apart.
Yeah. Which is a very Lady Danbury thing to do. Like, in the books, she would constantly be using her cane to, like, whack people and
I love it.
like, push people away, and like she was very aggressive with her cane. We love to see it. What I did mention though is it's another Easter egg from the book when they arrive at the art gallery, because he's got flowers for everyone, for Mary, Kate, and Edwina.
Yeah.
Obviously, it doesn't turn out the way that it does in the book, but I do love that little nod at the fact that he does do that in the book.
Yeah.
And it's roses, which, if I remember correctly, Kate's favorite flowers are roses.
Was it roses or was it tulips?
I think it's roses in the books. Like, she's something like she's never really seen roses or something like that. Like, she was very fascinated with, unless I'm making that up and that's another book, but I'm pretty sure her favorite flowers are roses.
I don't remember. I remember the discussion like they had that she never really received flowers before.
So they're at the art gallery. They're not supposed to look at each other, talk to each other, come into contact with each other, breathe the same air. And yet...
So Anthony decides to walk with Mary.
Right, yeah.
And I love this one moment. Like, Anthony actually apologizes to Mary, who actually acknowledges in that moment that she put too heavy a burden on Kate. And I thought that was so important.
And his reaction, he's like a little in shock. Like, I don't know, there's something happens for him when she says that.
Yeah, I loved that scene because, like, he needed to do that. And he did. And, like, I don't know. I just love Anthony, guys. I can't put my words... My words don't come out when it comes to Anthony.
If they ever do an adaptation of It Happened One Autumn, they should cast Jonathan Bailey as Marcus. He would do a great Marcus.
Please.
I feel like he kind of looks like what Marcus looks like in my head.
Yes, but like I said, I always pictured Luke Evans, but I'm open to that being changed.
I don't know. He's definitely like the kind of guy I was picturing when I was picturing Marcus. Anyways, Anthony Bridgerton does not understand the assignment. And
No.
You see him quickly like looking, because he sees Edwina leave, and then he turns around, sees that the mothers are otherwise occupied, and then quickly he zeroes in on Kate. And he goes up to her and he's like talking to her from the other side of the statue.
Because he's like, we need to talk about it. And then she's like, there's nothing to talk about. There was no kiss. And then he literally like walks like out from the statue. And
he's like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, he's like shocked. He's like, what are you talking about? That kiss. It was like life-changing. It was like epic. It was everything. And
people
like,
died.
Yeah. And he's like... And then she's like, there's no world in which that, we could kiss. In his heart, like, it looks like it's shattered. And he's like, great. Like, what do I do now?
He did it to her earlier in the season when she wanted to talk about something that had happened. And he goes like, nothing happened.
Yes.
So she did it back, okay? It was payback for what he did to her.
Yeah, she used his exact words. And I felt like he needed to feel that. And, like, the fact that we never got a discussion about, like, Kate's face, during that like proposal scene. I just like, I wish someone had mentioned like, you broke her heart. Like, I know someone looked at Kate. If anyone looked at Kate, it would have been Daphne for sure. During that scene.
Oh,
we never got it.
For sure. Daphne was zeroing in on all those expressions. She was like, you know what? I'm going back home. I can't be doing this no more.
Yeah, she's like, I'm done. I'm going home to my husband and my child.
Which is why she's not there at the Bridgerton Ball. She's like, I can't be doing this.
Yeah, she's probably like, I'm done with this shit.
Nobody shows up at the Bridgerton Ball. Which at first I was kind of shocked. I was like, wow, nobody. I was kind of feeling a little like secondhand embarrassment.
Yeah.
But then it turned into a really cute scene, and I did love that scene. As
so, Anthony takes it upon himself to gather everybody and decides to dance. He calls Hyacinth?
Yeah.
Hyacinth,
right?
Yeah.
That's it. Hyacinth, and she gets all excited to dance with him, and then Gregory comes down.
Gregory is so cute.
He is. And they all get into a circle, and they're all holding hands.
For a country
and they start
dance.
Doing the little, they start doing their little dance. Yeah. It was really cute. Made my heart feel all warm.
It's going down as like one of my favorite comfort scenes ever.
You can really feel that for a moment they are truly in harmony, and everything that's happened doesn't matter in that one moment. They're just having fun with each other, and it's a beautiful scene. I really love it. I love every time the Bridgertons are together, but there's something truly special about that one scene, especially because it's happening amidst so much drama that it's like we needed that moment of pause, that moment of connection to see these two families mesh pretty well, actually.
They do. And I just love that moment when Kate and Anthony actually finally get to dance with each other, and like they're laughing and smiling, and like they feel so light, like they appear like they have no worries, like you said, in that moment. And like I just loved like seeing them in that way.
But I also love that it doesn't focus on them as if they're a romantic couple in that scene. It focuses on them very much like the emphasis is on family.
Yes.
And they're connecting together as like two families coming together. It's really not, and I love that. I really didn't think it'd be something that I would love, that they're not focused on as if like they are the romantic pair here. Look, they're dancing together right now. It's really much like, no, everyone's dancing with everyone. You know?
No, but like what I'm saying is like the way that they look to each other, and like I just love that. And like by the end of the dance, like they're like really close to each other. Like they look like they're already married for like 10 years and they're about to go in for a kiss, but then Edwina, like they weren't actually going in for a kiss, but they were just really close. But like Edwina looks over and then like, they just pull apart, and like the happiness kind of goes a little bit in that moment.
And when it rains, it pours, because we get the latest Lady Whistledown issue, which we didn't mention this at all, but Eloise at some point gets accused of being Lady Whistledown by the Queen, and she's basically threatened to death. You know, not quite, but basically.
And like absolute ruin of the Bridgerton family.
Yeah, and just as they're finishing up the dance, they get the like I said, the latest Whistledown issue. In it, Penelope, we're really not liking Penelope this season, but Penelope reveals that Eloise had going-ons with a certain Theo Sharp at the printer.
No, it was press. That she was part of like a progressive.
Oh, right.
Movement.
She doesn't mention Theo.
Radical movements are not progressive.
So, yeah.
That was messed up for her to do that to her.
The fact that you do that to your best friend, and like in Penelope's perspective, she believes that she was protecting her best friend, but you ruined her. Like, you honestly ruined her in society.
Yeah. Anthony goes off looking pissed. And then there's a moment that I do not understand, because we get this like very short, brief encounter or conversation between Edwina and Kate where Kate basically says like, we should go home, this is cruel or something, which I guess like what she means is like we should go home and let the Bridgertons like, you know, deal with the situation by themselves. Like they probably don't want us here right now. Yeah. Which is like, fair enough. You have a point. What I don't understand is Edwina's reaction. Like she literally tells her that Edwina says, I'm not the cruel one here, and she basically tells Kate that Kate is the less kinder-hearted one of the two. And I'm like, why did that turn into that? Like, I don't understand her reaction.
I don't know. I mean, like, I guess you kind of make everything a battle when you're fighting, I guess, with your sibling. I don't know, but anyways, it leads to a great scene. Kate leaves, exasperated with her sister, and she meets Anthony in the garden.
Yeah, from this moment on, the rest of my notes for this episode are all in caps.
Yeah, same.
Everything is screaming, exclamation points, all caps, losing my mind. Basically, people died, aka I am people. I died.
Yeah. Hashtag me.
Hashtag finally. Hashtag we love a gazebo.
Yes.
Gazebo sex. Yeah. So what happened, Saf?
Well, Anthony and Kate meet each other again, and they have a discussion, and they start bantering again. He calls her like obstinate and flexible, And he even admits that even though his family hates him and he's like they're on the brink of ruin.
That's really sad. The fact that he says, I'm pretty sure my siblings hate me and my mother too. I'm like, are we not going to linger on that moment? That feeling that he's harboring inside of him? Really? That's sad.
I don't know. It's just like, it was really sad that he said that, but then he continues on and he says like, he finds like the only reason, like, what was it again? How did he word it?
Well, first off, he says, I've never met anyone like you.
Yes.
And then he said,
just read it out. I know you have it out now.
Oh, girl, I have it. He says, all I find myself thinking about, all I find myself being able to breathe for is you. And this is if you've listened to part 1, I mentioned how Violet, sorry, I forgot her name for a second there. Violet told him in one of the flashbacks that when Edmund died, she says, like, there's no air anymore. Like, I can't breathe. He was my reason to breathe. And then I also mentioned, like, that makes sense for all the emphasis on breathing throughout the show. And then here he is saying she is the reason he breathes for.
And the way he just, like, breathed the word, like, breathe and, like, you, the way he said it, I was like,
the delivery here is
impeccable,
stunning, amazing, fantastic. Academy Award, never seen before.
Amazing. Like 10 out of 10, give them all the awards. That's it. But even like I'm saying even a million times, but like my brain can't
even like he even
No, but he says that he would run away, like he was thinking of like running away with Kate and like leaving all of these problems behind. Like that's where he's at mentally at this point, and I'm like, Anthony Bridgerton, I love you.
And then he sniffs her again.
He sniffs her
hard. He really goes in for that sniff though. He's not even being subtle about it anymore.
No.
And the way he says lilies.
And I love a little nod because I think I vaguely remember her actually smelling like lilies.
Yeah, her soap is literally lilies.
Oh, okay. There you go. No, I mean like in the book. Like I think I remember her actually smelling like lilies. I don't know why I remember the weirdest details, but I think it's lilies.
It's just the way he says lilies to me. He could have said anything, garbage can, in that voice. And I would have been like, oh my gosh.
And yeah, it was like delivery.
It really was.
And then I love how he kept saying, like, you just need to stop. Like, just stop because I can't.
Yeah. Well, they have this, like, whole exchange where he's like, you need to stop. Then she's like, no, you need to stop, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Oh, and then she says, basically that everything she's always done is for her family. And then he says, yeah. And the way he says, yeah, I love it. I love it because you will understand that, like, yeah, he perfectly understands what she means.
They understand each other in that sense. They really do.
And then she says, you are the one who must stop. Then he says, before what? And then he says, before we both do something for ourselves.
I know. And that's like, it
like,
hit you.
Finally. Yeah. Y'all are realizing something here.
Yeah.
Finally.
I think that whole exchange, that whole dialogue,
perfect,
was just like amazingly done and like amazingly like well put together, like with every single word. It was just done so well.
Yeah, and then he looks really intense. He looks really tense.
He's really trying his hardest to, bring his honor to the forefront here.
You can see that last thread of honor snapping in front of your eyes, and he says, please go inside. And then she doesn't. And then he says, go inside.
We know he wanted to go inside.
Inside her. Girl, the way I fucking died. The way he says, go inside. I think I ascended. I think in that moment, my soul left my body.
I ceased to exist at that point. I was like, Bridgerton? No, I live and breathe Bridgerton.
It's my religion now. This moment is my religion now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was wow. And then obviously she follows that with, what did I tell you about giving me orders? Yeah. And that is when they crash. 2.0.
Again, they literally, every time they come together, they crash.
That's the enemies to lovers dynamic. It's crashing into each other. There's just, it's the forces that they've been trying to avoid that they can no longer ignore, and it pulls them together so hard that they crash into each other.
Yeah. And I love my man Anthony in this moment because he legit, like, you know, on her gone, he lifts her skirt up and, like, actually, like, starts touching her there. And he's like, nope, I can't. And he backs away.
He does say that. He's like, I need to stop. And she's like, please don't stop. But did you guys notice? I swear to God, he growls. He growls just before he says, I need to stop. And I'm like, people always say that men in real life can't growl. That was a growl.
Men can growl. I'm sorry.
Let's see.
I need to prove to everyone that there's a growl in there.
No, I believe you because he's very, like we said throughout this whole time of us talking about this series, he is very animalistic and primal. I can really see him growling.
So delicious. I rewinded probably about 30 times that one scene. Like that one moment.
Yeah.
Did you hear that? That's a growl. I'm sorry. Can you rewind and play it again? I need to prove a point, okay? For science.
I will stop.
It was like a groan. Like he's like, ugh, I can't do this. But I love it. It was perfect. They were so hot. I physically cannot.
And the way he brings her hand to his mouth just then. There.
I love it.
Yeah.
My man has a thing for fingers in his mouth, and I applaud him for that. I appreciate that.
They're so hot.
Yeah.
And the way he ate her out, guys, I could not handle.
I love how we're just watching this now. We're all just entranced.
And he finally got to touch up her thigh and caress it and worship it like he wanted to. This man was like, yeah. And I love their hands here.
Yeah.
This. He grabs her hand.
That was a good moment right there.
We're just staring, not saying anything. I'm glad our listeners are getting a little concert in the middle of this. Just appreciate the music and the breathing, the heavy breathing and the moaning.
Yeah. Anyways, the discussion here. Do you think they actually had sex?
No, they didn't. He just went down on her.
But do you think that was it?
Yeah, I mean, he kept his pants on. Like, how can you have sex?
But what in case they did? Like, he just, like, unbuttoned his pants.
No, I think I think that was it. Like, he just did that. If they had sex, they would have shown that they were having sex.
But would they, though? I feel like they really, didn't show anything this season.
Yeah, we can talk about that later on. Or maybe we can talk about it now, to be perfectly honest. Did you miss the sex?
I didn't miss I feel like the sex happened a lot in the first series that, I felt like it happened too much. Whereas in this one, I feel like it didn't happen enough.
I think the tension makes up for it.
I think a lot of people feel that way. So. I mean, listen, season 1, some people complained about the amount of sex, which, and okay, here's the thing. the way that the showrunners talk about it, talk about the difference between season 1 and season 2, they say that season 1 was they call it the education of Daphne Bridgerton. She didn't know anything about sex, and that was a huge part of that story. Yeah. So it made sense to have more sex as part of the plot, because she needed to discover herself, her pleasure, what that means, how it happens, blah, blah, blah. Here, it wasn't so much the point, which I understand. Mm-hmm. And I didn't need it to the extent that, of like season 1. But I did feel like what we did get was very kind of like it jumped all over the place. Like, it wasn't very a continuous kind of scene. It was very much like this shot, this shot, this shot, this shot. And, it's all very hot shots, don't get me wrong, but it's like, can we linger? For me, it's very much about the lingering on the shots, if you haven't put that together yet, this episode. Yeah. I just feel like I wanted them to linger in that moment and have us linger in that moment with them, because, like, we've waited for this for a very long time at this point. Did I miss it? A little bit, yeah. I could have done with more.
I could have done with more too, but like I said, I feel like their sexual tension was so palpable. At this point, I felt like I should not be watching what I was watching, so I was like, damn, you guys are, like, masterful at your craft. Like, the intimacy coaches really, like, did it. They did it well.
No, yeah. If you pause on pretty much every single one of those shots, it's hot.
Yes.
Yeah. You just need, I guess, because they don't have you linger on them, you just pause and you just take it in at your own rhythm, and then in your own time and your own space, and then you can continue on. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I just maybe like one more scene. Like, I really mourn the fact that we didn't get their first sex scene, like actual sex, penetrative sex, to be perfectly clear with everyone. Yes. Especially because it's such a big scene in the book. I get it. Kate's lack of, self-confidence is not really a thing here in the TV series. But, like, y'all remember that dialogue, that monologue, that Anthony has in the book when they first have sex?
I have it.
It's the whole burn for you thing, right?
Yeah, I have it. Because someone didn't believe that I burned for you was from, like, originally Anthony and Kate, so I have it. So in the book,
love how you're a little fact checker on Twitter, like, Miss Bam, that was Anthony's line.
Okay, listen. Okay, so listen to me, he said, his voice even and intense, and listen well, because I'm only going to say this once. I desire you. I burn for you. I can't sleep at night for wanting you. Even when I didn't like you, I lusted for you. It's the most maddening, beguiling, damnable thing, but there it is. And if I hear one more word of nonsense from your lips, I'm going to have to tie you to the bloody bed and have my way with you 100 different ways until you finally get it through your silly skull that you are the most beautiful and desirable woman in England. And if anyone else, I did not say that right. And if everyone else doesn't see that, then they're all bloody fools.
Now, we've seen Jonathan Bailey's delivery of the sexy lines here.
Yeah.
Tell me the world would not have imploded had he said that out loud.
Yeah.
That is hot. We missed out on that. Hello.
It's hot, for sure. And I loved that scene in the book. But I also feel like he had really great lines in the show.
He did. I guess, like, it's just, at least for me as, a romance reader, my personal thing is, like, the firsts in the books that I read are so important.
Yeah, for sure. And I, like you, would have loved to see, like, their first not actual, but, like, their first, like you said, penetrative sex scene.
Yeah, I just feel like it's an important moment.
In romance, it easily is.
But especially in historical romance, because there's, like, an added weight to it, it's like, I don't know, it's especially special in historical romance for me, and we didn't get that. What we did get, though, is Anthony Bridgerton waking up the next morning with a smile on his face
and
then realizing that she's gone.
Yeah. And Kate's freaking out back at home, and we get more little flashbacks that we didn't see during the night.
We actually see his face between her legs, which I was very...
And his eyes were so intense, guys. I was like...
That was very good.
It was good.
I'm pleased with that.
That episode ends with Kate going for a ride. So basically, Anthony, is all hot and bothered and like wet from the rain, but then he storms into Lady Danbury's house with a ring ready to propose to Kate, presumably. But then he learns that she has gone out, and he charges after her in the pouring rain, screaming her name, and like we all talked about, he does say her name, Kate, as her horse kind of freaks out, and she's thrown from her horse, hitting her head on a rock. And the episode ends there.
That's how fast you're gonna go over the fact that he was full on gonna propose?
No, we're gonna debrief now.
Okay. I saw a tweet on Twitter which was like, he went down on her once and figured out his whole life.
Yes. Agree. Retweet.
Fair enough. Right. Retweet. Yeah. He right away he's like, okay, well, I need to do the gentlemanly thing for once in my life.
See, this is why I was like, did they actually like physically sleep together? Because he like made it seem like, I know I'm jumping ahead, but that it was like, it was the right thing to do. Like he compromised her, so it was the right thing to do.
I mean, in this time period, you could hold someone's hand and be like, we should probably marry. He literally went down on her.
But no one saw that. And she's still like, quote unquote, intact. She's still, quote unquote, pure.
What he says in the next episode is that he didn't want it to happen that way. So I think that's just what he means. Like, he wanted to make it right by her. I don't think they had sex, but I think it was enough that he was like, I didn't want for this between us to happen in this way and remain like this, like, secretive, forbidden thing. Like, when we have sex, I want it to be, special and... we're wedded and blah, 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 blah. Like, I think that's what he meant. Or that was his intention, I think. I don't know. So, he goes to Lady Danbury's house. As you said, he is wet. And he's got that strand of hair that's just perfectly placed on his forehead.
It's like the Daphne bangs all over again.
But it's hot on him, okay? It is not the Daphne bangs. Don't insult him like that.
Oh no, he's hot. He can pull off
so
any
hot.
haircut.
The way he's sitting on that couch. Anyways, he's waiting. She's not showing up, and then they learn that there's a horse missing. So he puts two and two together, and he's like, "Here she is again, riding at dawn in the pouring rain." Why did she do that? Not sure. It wasn't the brightest idea she's ever had.
Maybe she was just running away from, like, her feelings for a second.
Yeah, I mean, I think when one is distressed, one does not always think through things. So she was like, I need out of here right now. Yeah, and then what happens?
I already said. She falls from a horse and her head hits the rock.
Okay, yeah, but, like, say it with intensity. This is an intense
moment.
Okay,
so what happens? Like, oh my gosh, the music slows down, and like the rain, and like, the way that the horse
slows down, the music picks up. It's like really intense and dark and
like,
booming.
Fine. The music is like, it's intense. It's like, going crazy. And then the slow-mo of the rain and like the way the horse like stands up and like Kate's trying to hold on for dear life, and then like we have Anthony, he's like screaming as he's riding, he's like, Kate!
That's how it ends, basically. She's on the ground.
Yeah, it ends with her on the ground.
He only goes to her in episode 8, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how it ends. She's on the ground, looking dead, and he screams, and that's that. End of the episode.
And episode 8 commences for me at 3:30 because I couldn't go to bed.
Oh, God. I can't believe you guys did that.
I couldn't stop watching. After that scene, can you imagine cutting it off and going to bed?
No, yeah. So episode 8, the last episode, the Viscount Who Loved Me.
Oh.
Anyways, what happens?
Okay, episode starts off with Anthony running to the unconscious Kate, and he touches her head and he sees the blood on his hand. And he picks her up, and he's frantically trying to get her back into Lady Danbury's house, and then he gets her there, bellowing for a surgeon and, like, you know, getting a doctor, and he is stressed out, and he is forced to step away from Kate, and then Benedict comes in because his valet had seen what was going on and just, you know, comes to see if he can be of any assistance. And Anthony is so far in his head, he is like not even hearing anything, and he just says it's my fault, like all of it's my fault. And he looks at Edwina and Mary sobbing in the corner, and he's like, damn, this is my fault. Yeah, that scene, I felt so bad for him. I know I'm not getting far in the episode yet, but like seeing him like so in his feels and like so in his head at that point was like, it really brought him back to his father and like what was going on there.
And then it's so drastic when it cuts to the next scene that they are in anyway.
Yeah.
Where he's like acting super normal or like trying to, and you're like, what happened in between? Yeah, trying to is the key word, because he's clearly not, but.
And everyone sees right through it. His siblings, his mom, they're all like, you're not okay.
But you see how that shift, at first you're like, Anthony, like, why are you feeling so kind of normal when the woman you love is unconscious? But then you realize, like, he's done that his whole life. He's so used to doing that's just right away, like, he went right into that, like, mental space where he's just gonna pretend.
Yeah, and that's all he knows. He knows, like, all he remembers from his first traumatic event with his dad dying was he was forced to, like, you know, be put into this position and play this role. And, like, he's like, I need to do that again. And so he does it again.
Yeah, but he's not very good at it, because even at the end of that scene, Violet says that she's worried about him.
I know.
And when she leaves, you kind of see a little bit, like, his eyes are a little red, and you can see that he's trying to keep it in still.
And then we're not even really talking about Benedict as well, but he finds out in this episode, actually, he had gotten into the academy, the art academy, and he finds out in this episode that Anthony paid for his place in the art academy, and he's rightfully angry, and he feels inadequate, and he leaves right away, losing confidence in, like, his ability to be an artist. So I thought that was really interesting to see amidst all of this that's going on.
Yeah. Note that in that conversation with Violet, she asks him outright, like, why haven't you been to see her?
Yeah.
And he snaps, like, literally, I'm busy. Like, can't you see?
Yeah.
And she says that she's worried about him, and he says, I don't have time for this, which is just, like, you know, emphasizes how his whole life he's felt like he hasn't had time to process his emotions. Like, there's no time for that. He never
processes his emotions at all, and, like, he doesn't know how to. He doesn't know how to go through his emotions and live through them and, like, go through all the stages of, like, grief, for example, or, like, any of it.
And then Kate wakes up. And what does she do? First thing. She
asks about Anthony and if he's come to visit, and is disappointed he hasn't been to visit at all.
Breaks my heart. Breaks my heart. And then this switches to probably an all-time favorite scene for me.
Yes.
Anthony is in his office working on some paperwork, and Violet comes basically running into the room. Like, you never see Violet running anywhere, but she's basically running. And she just says Anthony, and he was gonna, like, send her away, saying, like, oh, I'll be there in a second, type of thing. And then he just says she's awake. And Violet says, like, yeah, blah, 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 I heard from this person. And then she nods, like, yeah, she's awake. And oh my gosh.
I cried so hard, guys.
The way, it's the way you can physically see him trying to hold the emotion in, but it's too late. And then his face just completely changes and he breaks down.
Yeah.
Oh my god. To see a male character do that on screen, I cannot tell you how special that is.
Yeah.
How special that is.
It was just done so well. Like, Jonathan, we've been saying it nonstop throughout this whole time we're talking about the show. Like, his acting is phenomenal. And just, like, the nuanced expression, but also just, like, I looked at him and I just saw like suffocation. Like he was being suffocated by like his grief, like that he's not allowing himself to feel. Yeah. And it's just like the torture. And then you see Violet finally, she like talks to him about everything that's been going on, and like she actually mentions to him that, you know, she would go through it all again. Like she would go through that pain of losing Edmund if that meant she got to live all the good stuff.
And like, mind you, this is the first time that they're actually having this conversation in like 20 years or some shit. Yeah. They should have had that conversation when it happened, but Violet was completely unable to have it. So only now are they actually sitting together talking about it. Like, let that sink in. Like, the everything, all the emotions and fears and worries and like that he's harbored inside of himself, that he's kept hidden inside of himself, because that one conversation was never had. And like, you don't blame her, you understand, like she really was not able in that moment to have that conversation. For sure. But the pressure it put on him,
the pressure, and also the scene was so important for him as well, like, you know, all around. But I love that he got this apology from his own mother because of how things unfolded, and like for her to recognize like her wrongdoing in a sense of like, of her naming what happened and her like saying like she should have never put that on her son in a way. And I love that he got that, because in that moment, you know, you kind of forget, or she forgot that was her son. And I love that she took that moment to apologize to him for what had happened 10 years ago, because he needed that.
Yeah. How did you feel when he had that reaction?
Emotional.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
To me, this moment, you know, when people will say things like, oh, men in romance are so toxic, blah, blah, blah. This, to me, is the romantic hero. You know what I mean? Like, this is why we love it so much. This is what speaks to us, to, like, see, to yes, have men that sometimes do, you know, struggle with their emotions and showing their emotions and processing them. But we love it for this moment, precisely. The moment where they finally let themselves process them. And that completely changes them from that moment on. That's the moment we read it for. That's what we love. That's what speaks to us. So yeah, it's special to have that on screen, I think.
It's so special. And I love just seeing men experience emotion, and like they're not like portrayed as like this uber strong man, because strong men like have weak moments, and they have not weak moments, but they have moments of like emotional vulnerability, and it's never shown. It's like, I don't know, it's like it's so toxic to not show that, but like men have emotions. They are people. They go through things.
And it's not sorry, ahead.
No, what were we gonna say? No, I was gonna change the point.
Well, I was just gonna say, it's not like a competition, but where did Simon have that moment?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think this season was really, really done well, in the sense where like Anthony was given his due. He was able to like, I guess in a way, redeem himself in the eyes of the viewers. And this kind of brings me to what I wanted to say, like his comment in the first episode where he says he wants a wife with like childbearing hips. I saw a tweet and it actually made me like feel like something in my chest. And like, it kind of like, this person said, I don't remember who said it, but
oh my god, I know what
like,
you're gonna say.
That he
I haven't
wanted...
seen the tweet. Yeah,
you saw the tweet? Yeah.
No, I didn't see it, but I can imagine where it's going.
Okay, so like he wants a woman that has childbearing hips because of like the difficulties his mom had in the pregnancy with Hyacinth, and he doesn't want his wife to ever go through that.
Yeah.
So every decision he's made in his life goes back to his father's death and like what his mom went through.
Yeah, I can see that. I knew the moment you said that where it was headed and what you were referring to. Jesus
so whoever
Christ.
tweeted that, I'm sorry, I'm not giving you credit. I don't know who said it, but like, thank you for saying that, because it just like added another layer to Anthony that like he didn't need, but like, thank you. Like, he's so multifaceted and like multi-layered. And what else does Violet say really quickly before we move on to Anthony that kind of pushes them in the direction of pursuing Kate again?
I didn't write it down.
Oh, okay. I have it.
You
then.
wrote it down? Okay. Then
Yeah.
read it.
Okay. So basically, as she's telling him everything, you know, her apologizing to him and all of that. And as she's talking about Edmund, she tells him that you cannot lose her. And she also says that real, true love is worth it. And so...
no matter what.
Yes, no matter what. So it pushes him to go and visit Kate the next morning with tulips. How does he screw this up? Who wants to go through this?
Okay, so he shows up with the tulips, walks in. She's like, Lord Bridgerton.
Oh my god.
And then basically, you know, he's feeling a little flustered. It's kind of funny. Like he's looking really awkward standing there. And basically like he just straight up says, I'm going to marry you. And she's like, no.
Well, no, he basically says, like you said, that he wished he'd done it differently, and Kate assumes that it's because he feels like it's out of like it's because he's proposing out of obligation and not because he loves her. And at this point we know that Kate is very much in love with him, or like I guess now at this point we do know that she is. And she kind of hoped that he felt the same way. And she tells him the plan is still to move back to India. And Anthony tells her that she's running away. Yeah.
And the way he says that, again, cannot, like, just honestly take a sip of alcohol every single time we say the way he said that. Because it just is, okay? Like, the way he says you're running away, it's very powerful. And then, you know, he kind of leaves the ball in her court. Yeah. At that moment. It's very much, I'm all in, so this is up to you now. Are you going to put your big girl pennies on and say yes, or are you going to run away? Up to you.
Well, I mean, for Kate, like, he didn't do a good job. Like, obviously we know this man does not talk about emotions, but she, like, really is like, why am I going to stay here if, like, after all of this, he still doesn't love me?
But I think it's because, to him, it's obvious that he's in love with her. Like, he didn't think about the fact that she would assume it's because of obligation.
Well, then word it better, Anthony Bridgerton.
Well, I said it in part 1. He's a little flustered in this season, okay? He doesn't really do well with, like, saying big things. He said it in an earlier episode. I'm not a man of words and poetry.
But then when it comes down to him and his emotions, he does an amazing job of talking things out.
Speaking of, we get the scene with Gregory, which is a scene I didn't know I needed, but I'm so happy we got.
I love that scene.
Do you wanna tell us what happens in that scene?
So Anthony's in his study and Gregory comes in and wanting to talk to him because I guess one of his teachers yelled at him for something. And then
he feels stupid.
Gregory,
I know.
And then Gregory tells him, oh, like, I'm interrupting you, let me go away. And Anthony stops him and they have a conversation about their dad and they have a little moment, and it's really nice. Gregory asks,
am I like him at all? You know, because obviously Gregory didn't really know his father. And I think that's a moment for Anthony where he realizes, I mean, he literally says, we do not talk about him much, do we? Mm-hmm. Like, he realizes that he's kind of cut off because of his own grief and his own, like, him running away from his own emotions. He cut his own siblings off of knowing their father.
Exactly. He would have the most memories with his father, and he wasn't allowing his siblings, like you said, to know their father. So I love that we had this moment where, like, in a way, he was allowed to grieve his own father and, like, share a memory that he had with his father, and I just loved it.
Yeah, he says, Gregory says, I do not know much about him, and then Anthony replies, that is because I have shown up far too late for far too many things. Yeah. So, you know, just, it's good. It's good that he's acknowledging that, and that, you know, he's realizing that they should talk about their father, that the way to do things is not to ignore it. Yeah.
No, but I love that, like, we see it, like, as the season progresses, and where he was at in season 1, he starts off like cold and like distant, and he's like the patriarch of the family that like even Gregory like kind of like kept away from. But like more and more as the season goes on, like we see him open up to his siblings, which I love because he believes up until this point, I think, I don't know if it's changed, that his family doesn't really like him. And I love that we see him break social protocol for his siblings. He's always all about honor and always all about like keeping up appearances. But he breaks
especially the younger ones.
Yeah, because they never knew their father. Gregory, he was like 1. He doesn't know his father at all. And yeah, so like their only like I guess parental figure that is a male is Anthony. So yeah, I just loved that we had little moments where Anthony allowed his family like to see him and let them in.
Yeah, I also love that he says, I ask too much of them, too much of you, too much of everyone, really. Yeah. But you're right. It is touching to see that he always makes a point of trying to include even the younger ones, which, you know, according to the way things should be, the younger ones are kind of ignored in the family until they're, you know, useful or
until they're old enough.
Then we have that conversation between Kate and Mary.
All right. So Kate is packing her suitcase to go back to India. This is right before the big Featherington Ball. So what happens is Kate kind of like confides in Mary, and like they talk about how Kate was feeling and how she, I guess, misinterpreted a lot of things. And she basically told Mary that that she felt like she had to earn her spot in this family. And Mary was like, I can't believe I made you feel that you had to earn a spot in the Sharma family. Like that was never the case. She never differentiated between the two. And that was kind of sad to like see that Kate was carrying that.
Yeah, or that I think they say something like, or that Kate owed something to Mary for taking her in or something.
Yeah, sorry, owed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, like that scene was just like really hard to watch because like Kate, of course, was struggling with this alone. Like no one, like her experience is very unique in the sense where like there's no one that has her lived experiences that she can talk to, or like there's no one that she felt like she didn't have friends to go to. All she had was her sister and Mary, and obviously her sister isn't talking to her, and she never had that relationship, it seems like, with her sister to like confide and like share her own problems with Edwina. I think Edwina was the one that was always sharing her problems. But again, I love that this was a moment where for Mary to recognize her own wrongdoing and her like absence when the father died. Because Kate was a child at that point, and she had to take on this burden of carrying the family.
Yeah, which kind of mirrors the relationship, the conversation that Violet and Anthony have in this episode.
Yeah, for sure.
Those two conversations were very much needed, and I'm very happy that they're here.
Yes, they both needed to have that with their moms.
Yeah. Kate makes it to the ball. After all, she changes her mind, and she dances with Edwina. They've made up. They're sisters again. I love it. I love that they dance together. They're like, fuck
that scene was
whatever
very
the rules
cute.
are.
Yeah, they're like, screw it with social, like, you know, niceties and like what's done in the ton.
Everyone already looks down upon us anyway. We might as well.
I liked that scene.
Then we get one of my favorite little moments ever. We get Anthony Bridgerton walking up to Kate, and basically, I don't know what she says. Something like about the fact that she had like a severe head injury, that he found her on the dance floor, that maybe she needed someone to steady her, maybe he was the first one she found, blah, blah, blah. And this playful little smile that this man has, and he
so
holds up 3 fingers, and he's like, how many? And then she says 3, and then he like flips his hand around and there's 4. And I love it so much. I love seeing playful Anthony.
He was so playful. And I love it. I love seeing this version of Anthony. And, like, obviously it meant that she wasn't seeing the right number. So naturally, he had to be her support and they had to dance.
Yeah. But also, did you see the little theories about that scene?
Oh, about them having 4 children? Like, he was asking how many children she wanted. And then...
Well, because they have 3 children, but then they have, like, an oopsie child, like, 8 years later, which is the 4th child, Mary.
Yeah.
So people are saying, like, maybe that's especially because of his face, like, whoa, you know, at the 4th one. So I don't know. People are saying that. I think it's cute. I think
that's cute. I could see that. Tell us about this dance. The emotions you were going through. How? Like, tell us about it.
That was such a bad song for that moment. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah. They could have picked a different song.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys remember that from part 1, but I said, like, there are moments here, important moments for these characters where I felt like they needed their own theme.
That should have been a good placement.
And not a stupid rendition. This is a moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. Song. I mean, I did enjoy, like, the instrumental rendition of that version, but I felt like, they could have picked another song at that point.
It lacked intensity for me.
I could see that.
And that's when they do their little hand movement.
Yes. Like, and she looks like a Disney princess because her eyes are so, like, expressive. Sparkly, and just... Yeah. And he literally is, like, his jaw clenches because she's so close to his face and he's trying to keep it in and, like, not ruin her on the dance floor. But, like, the jaw clench.
Yeah. It's very intense. Anyways, then he says, no, she says, do you want to stop? And he says, just keep looking at me. It's all that matters.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
I live for it. But then what happens, like, as you said, everyone's leaving the dance floor. The queen is also at this dance. And she basically clears the air finally, last episode. And says it's because she didn't want the marriage to go through. That's why Edwina and Anthony did not get married. And that these two make a very great couple.
Yeah. And then she tries to push Edwina towards the prince.
Yeah, yes.
How do you feel about the potential of Edwina and the prince together?
Is that the prince from the first season?
Yeah.
the
nephew,
blondie?
Yeah. Do you see them together?
I don't care.
Yeah, like, I mean, I'd be down for it because, like,
yeah,
you know, the prince was, like, adorable and all, but, like, maybe for an episode. Like, if, like,
like a brief mention.
Yeah, like, if that was, like, a hint of her being in the next season and the prince coming back for season 3, I mean, like, I'll see it, but I won't, like, want, like, a whole subplot on it.
From this point on, I wrote a note about this because that was during my initial viewing. I remember vividly thinking, this is the last episode I'm gonna get with Kate and Anthony as leads, and there is not nearly enough Kate and Anthony in this episode. And I remember looking at the timestamp multiple times because I was looking at the time spent where we were at, and I was like, how am I gonna get the satisfying, all-encompassing ending that I need for these two in the amount of time that I'm left with?
Yeah.
And then, of course, this is followed up with a bunch of scenes about other characters that we do not care about, and we end up really just spending about 9 more minutes with our leads, and that's it.
One of the scenes in particular was Eloise figuring out that Pen is actually Lady Whistledown, and they had a big blowout because Pen more or less insults her, and Eloise is betrayed by her friend that, you know, she told her friend all of these things in confidence and made it into Lady Whistledown's latest issue. So that was a big scene that happened. Do you have any thoughts about that before we move on?
It was messed up.
I was just mad. I was just mad that by that point, this is what we were focusing on. Like, I get it. I get it. And I get that this is an important scene for, like, regular TV watchers, because they have been waiting for this, but all I could think about was why am I not with my leads here? I'm only getting like 15 more minutes of Kate and Anthony as the leads of a season, and I'm not spending them with them, you know, like that. That was frustrating. Like, I remember that.
I was mad. I just, like you said, I just wish we had more scenes with Kate and Anthony in this finale even if it was just one more episode at this point, like just give us an episode dedicated to Kate and Anthony if you want to waste time. Not waste time, but spend time on Eloise and Penelope, and also like Penelope seeing Colin, say that he would never court her or whatever. And then we also got the Featheringtons and like their drama, and I'm like, come on now, like just like let's just move on. Like they're done, let's move on.
I know we said it before, but like the Featheringtons took up way too much space here.
Agreed.
Way too much. We get, however, an I love you.
Yes.
Here. We get 2 I love yous, actually. 3 I love yous. He says it twice.
Yeah.
And then she says it once. Yeah. So, yeah. Anyone wants to give a brief overview of that scene?
So basically, like you said, it's an important scene in the sense where everyone's out to go watch the fireworks, but Kate finds a quiet place in the garden, and Anthony finds her after talking to Benedict, because Benedict confronts him about the whole like art academy thing. So that's maybe setting up something for season 3. And then he talks to Kate, and he just says it, and he's like, I love you. And it's like, for him it was like a revelation in a sense where like he's just like, I love you, and like he just says it again and like touches his heart, and he doesn't expect anything from her at that point. He's like, you don't have to accept it, you don't even have to agree with it, like knowing you probably won't, but I love you. And like he just puts his hand to his chest, like where her hand touched his chest during that like bee sting scene. He's like, yeah, I just like, I love you. I think like he even said like he's always loved her from like the first moment that they met up until like all their like banter and all like their little fights they've had. Like he's loved her throughout it all. And she starts that scene with basically saying like, I don't know what to say, and he looks like he just like in his eyes it's like it's okay, like don't worry about it, it's okay. And then she's like, I don't know what else to say, but I love you too.
And he like nods, but like like a little tiny
like,
little nod, like yeah you do.
It's like, I can't believe that Kate could love him, and I'm like, Anthony. Love that scene. And then they kiss and the fireworks are like, oh, it was beautiful.
Can I just say that after spending 8 episodes of them, walking around each other, kind of like not saying it, but saying it, or, saying it with their eyes, saying it with their hands, saying it in every other way except saying it, that it was actually kind of shocking to hear him outright say, I love you. Like, it meant more, and it meant more than everything else he's said before and even after, to a certain extent. Like, it's just those words now have so much weight, because it's like you've said it so many times except this one.
And the way he proposes as well, it's like, I want to marry you because like I can't imagine my life without you. And the fact that he says like, I will humble myself before you, because like I don't know, like his lines and like his whole proposal, like he wanted her to know that he wants to marry her because he wants her and he loves her.
And he says a life that suits us both.
Yes. And I love that. Like she got what she wanted from her proposal. And like, I love that she got that like validation. Like, she got that from him, and I loved it.
Yeah. And then she says, you do know there will never be a day where you do not vex me. And he says, is that a promise, Kanthony Sharma? And I'm like, oh my God, the way he says that. And then the way he follows that with, I know she says, yes, it's a promise. And then the way he follows that with, it seems the two of us are finally seeing eye to eye on something. And his smile.
Yeah.
His smile kills me.
I love it.
I wanted to spend more time with them.
Me too.
Anyways, what were you going to ask us?
No, I was going to ask her, like, how did you feel about, like, that proposal? Like, do you think it was too abrupt? Or, like, this is for you, too. Like, do you feel like it was abrupt? Do you feel like how it played out? Like, I think we already basically talked about it. We wanted more time with them. But, like, were you content with what you got? Or what?
Up until that point, I think, yeah, I was content. But, I mean, I feel like there was room for more of them.
Which I think
if more stuff was cut out.
Maybe season 3 will have them. Because, like, after this, we go to the epilogue, and it's not even, like, years into the future. It's, like, 6 months.
6 months
into the future.
See.
So, like, who's to say, like, we're not going to get more? Like, there's no baby. Like, there was with Simon and Daphne. They're still in, like, their honeymoon bliss. So, Who knows? Maybe we'll get more of them in season 3 and a subplot for them.
Can I just say they were dead-ass kissing outside during that ball while the fireworks are going? Like, dead-ass kissing in front of everyone. I'm like, this is scandalous. Is nobody gonna say anything?
I know. It's like the third or like 20,000 time I watched that scene. Like, you can see heads in front of them. So, like, if anyone turned around, hello, scandal.
Absolute scandal. Like, this is not even scandal. This is, like, beyond that. They're kissing in front of everyone.
Yeah.
And then we get to the epilogue.
Yes.
They're having sex. Not their first time, but they're having sex. Kate is very happy to fulfill her duty as a Viscountess to him. He kisses the place where she got stung.
I know. Lived for it.
And unfortunately, they have to stop having sex because they need to go greet his family. Boo.
Because they're all here to play Pall Mall again.
Pall Mall again, yeah.
And
the baby is grown.
Sorry, I was just going to say that they traveled for 6 months.
6 months.
So did they go to
hopefully.
India?
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
Sure. She said she missed it so much.
So I need to know, Anthony in India, how was it? I need to see, like, an episode of Anthony in India.
This is why this sucks, that this is TV, because if this was a book and we would all be asking the author to write this bonus scene, and they would.
Yeah.
But we don't get that here.
No.
We can't ask for that here.
No.
It sucks. Anyways, Newton is Antony's by marriage, and he did not agree with that.
Their first son. Yes.
Their first son, yeah. And then Antony says, because they start, like, you know, kind of getting cuddly and kissy on the field, and Daphne is like, well, does that mean they're cutting out? And both of them go, absolutely not.
No.
And Antony says, unless we take this opportunity to return upstairs.
Anthony is wild.
Okay, sir.
And then they start making out in front of the whole family and Lady Danbury.
And he's grabbing her ass.
I'm like, excuse you.
He's full on grabbing her ass.
But no, I really love this scene in the sense where, like, yes, we see Anthony and Kate, but I love that they also focus on Daphne's expression. I don't remember if they focus on Violet at all, but, like, Daphne was one of the people, her and her mom, told Anthony that they saw him change and, like, he lost his smile and his laughter, but now they can bear witness to, like, his smiles and, like, his laughter, and it's not leaving anytime soon because he chose love. And I'm like, I love that they had that moment to see that.
Yeah, Daphne's absolute joy and just happiness for her brother is so obvious and clear in that smile, and I just love it. I did love that was, like, the second to last scene we focus on. Her smile, and then we go back to them kissing. Yes. Oh, with the Bollywood, like, you know,
the circling them. Around. Yeah, I was expecting them to start, like, singing or whatever. Loved it.
The end.
Yeah, it was so fairy tale like. That epilogue was a great one. And like I said, I'm hoping this means more Kate and Anthony in season 3, whether that be a subplot or, you know, other, like, problems about, or I don't know. Like, if they're just going to be a support for the other Bridgerton siblings, I don't know. I want more of them, and I love that they're coming back for season 3 and also season 4.
I'm really hoping, crossing my fingers and toes, that they get, at the very least, like, their own subplot in the next seasons. So.
We're not done with them. Like, what I'm trying to say is I think their intent at this point was to maybe continue the story on. Like, maybe they were like, let's have it go as, like, a series, like a TV series, not like a book series, where, like, books usually finish with one couple. And maybe they're like, let's keep this couple going, because maybe they wanted to do that with Reggae as, like, Simon, but, like, that was not, like, happening at all. So they have to end their story in a sense. But I don't know. We'll see.
What about you, Wes? Would you prefer it just, like, focuses on the actual couple, or, like, would it? Because I know some romance readers are a little, like, iffy about that. Like, it's like, once they're done, I don't want them to focus on that couple anymore. Or are you like us, like, wanting that?
For Kate, if it comes down to picking a couple to feature as a subplot in the next season, for sure, Kate and Anthony.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
For sure.
And maybe less Featheringtons. If anyone in the Bridgerton team is listening to us, please, like, less Featheringtons.
You know, the Featheringtons really could have taken that trip to America.
I agree. Take
really
Penelope with them, please.
Or maybe leave her so she gets her romance with Colin. But speaking of...
Well, okay, really quickly, let's talk about this. Because at where the season ends, I understand she's at her lowest point, but I also don't empathize with her anymore. I really don't. They've made me not like her.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I was even annoyed when her voice came on at the end. Like, I honestly, like, and again, this is nothing against Nicola, the actress.
Her
She's
acting's
great.
amazing.
Yeah, it's nothing against that. It was my frustration at the way things were unraveling at this point. And the fact that we were not with our leads. And my attachment and love for these leads. It really tainted my experience.
Yeah, but I think we can spend like a minute talking about like where you think she'll end up in season 3, because at this point, Eloise knows that she is Lady Whistledown, but she doesn't choose to stop writing. She actually, in her anger, sorry, I worded that wrong. She like chooses to keep writing in her anger because
Did that make any sense to you guys?
What is her, okay, you read the book, so I don't know if you can answer this better. Like, I understand that, like, Lady Whistledown was, like, her having a voice in this world, in this ton. What is the point of it? Like, why does she continue writing as Lady Whistledown when it just keeps hurting the people she claims to love?
Because in the book, it never really hurt the people she loves.
Okay.
They took it so far that here she's actually, like, hurting people. Like, in the books, it's really like trivial stuff, like, oh, did you see that Cressida Cowper was wearing a really ugly dress the other day?
Yeah.
Or like just revealing the scandals that everyone's already knows, type of thing, you know? Like, it's never actually hurtful, or at least not that I can remember. They took it far.
Yeah,
here.
because imagine when Colin finds out about Marina, that she was the one that revealed Marina was pregnant. And selfishly, you know, it's just because Penelope didn't want Colin to be with another woman.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be livid.
From my memory anyway, like in the books, she never says anything about Colin in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously the whole Marina thing is not in the books.
Yeah.
And then, she never says anything about Eloise either. So she never really mentions the Bridgertons in like in like a bad light. If anything, the person that she's meanest with in the books is herself.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm not liking her character at all. I'm not rooting for her at all. I did read an article where they're saying that they might switch up the order of the books, and I don't want it to be Penelope and Colin next.
I do and I don't. Here's the thing.
Well, then that makes sense why the Featheringtons were featured a lot this season.
But they were featured a lot in season 1 too, so...
Yeah. I think they are switching things because... Remember at the end of season 1 where Anthony had that moment where he's like, oh, now I go off to find my wife.
Yeah.
You know? They obviously emphasize that. Here, they very much leave you with the idea that Penelope has heard Colin say, I would never court Penelope Featherington, which is a line from the books where he says, I would never marry Penelope Featherington. Here it's court, which is an interesting change. But so that makes me think that for that reason, they are going with Penelope and Colin next. The reason why I kind of do want that is literally only so that it can be done and over with.
Yeah.
Because we need to move on to something else. Like, I'm getting tired of the Lady Whistledown storyline. I'm getting tired of Colin and Penelope getting drawn out. I feel like they need to take it somewhere to another level. Yeah. And they need to get it done with so that we can move forward.
I mean, that means altering the timeline, too, because, like, doesn't that book take place, like, 10 years?
10 years later.
Ahead. Yeah. And then what happens, I guess they'd have to alter it a lot with, like, if Benedict does end up with Sophie. alter how that happens too, right?
Also, Eloise, I think her story takes place years after, or a couple years after Penelope, and now like she's really feeling like a spinster because everyone's married off, and she's feeling quite lonely.
So then would you think that season 4 could even be Eloise and Philip?
Maybe. I honestly don't know.
I really don't know where the season or where the show's gonna take us, and I'm sad because Benedict, I would watch a whole season with him because I think he's hilarious, and he's in need of some loving.
I love him, but at the same time, I didn't love his book. I don't like Cinderella retellings. I do love the idea of a class difference, obviously.
Yeah.
That's, you know, forbidden and delicious, and, you know, we want all that angst. But I just don't love the Cinderella thing.
I mean, it makes for good TV, to be honest. I feel like everyone gravitates towards a Cinderella retelling. Like, people might enjoy that aspect, but also like you highlighted the social class and like the difference there, and I feel like that's something that we really could explore in Bridgerton world for sure, and it'll bring something fresh to the stories.
Yeah, and I guess like the Eloise and Theo thing kind of paved the way for Benedict's story.
Do you think Theo will be in season 3?
No, I think it most likely was like a passing, fleeting kind of young love.
I mean, we'll see. I feel like people are really like all about Theo and Eloise, or like
I don't remember. Were you into Theo and Eloise?
No, I really didn't. No, it was like whatever.
Do you have any like possible like, I guess like wishes for season 3? Is there anything that you hope to see?
Maybe I would like to see how they're gonna resolve like Penelope and Eloise, like their issues, if they do that, how they're gonna do it, because I don't see how they can come back from that, at least right now.
They were left in a very bad spot.
I think it will make for good angst when Colin finds out.
It will,
she's
but
Lady Whistledown.
I don't care.
I know.
At this point. They made me not care about Penelope, and that sucks because I really liked Penelope in season 1. And I empathized with her at the beginning, but then, like, by the end, I'm like, no.
The thing is, like, the just, like, regular audience really loves her.
And I understand, but I don't. Because at this point, like we said, I'm just, repeating what we said. She just hurts people she loves. She claims to love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't see that as a lovable quality at all.
I mean, for Eloise, she did do it, to protect Eloise in some way, but the Colin thing, that was definitely like out of selfishness of not wanting Marina to. Well, I mean, I get it. Like, Marina was gonna trap this man into a wedding, and then, you know, like, I get it. It's part protection, part self-interest.
That wasn't the only option for Penelope. Penelope could have easily revealed herself as Lady Whistledown and not ruin her best friend.
Or she could have just told Colin, hey, did you know that she's pregnant with
No, I'm talking about Eloise. She claims that was her protecting her. But you could have protected her by telling the truth.
No, I think she just did it for herself.
She did it for herself. To protect herself and protect her facade, caught. And so she can keep hiding behind a piece of paper. That's exactly why she did it.
It was bizarre, the whole thing of like her giving it up and then suddenly being like, I'm back. Yeah. Did you miss me? Like, I don't know. Like, it was a little weird.
And she would get visibly angry when people were like insulting Lady Whistledown. And I'm like, you're like, Lady Whistledown is ruining lives. I hope you see that.
Like, you're insulting everyone in your papers, but then someone says something moderately mean about Lady Whistledown, and you're like, what do you mean? How dare you?
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on from that, shall we? I also just wanted to briefly mention that in part 1, I mentioned that I was re-watching it just with the Bridgerton parts, and I had only seen episodes 1 to 4. And I just want to confirm that after rewatching 5 to 8, it's really the way to go. I really loved it this time around, doing it this way. Just the Bridgerton bits. Highly recommend. If you're struggling with this season, I really loved it the second time around. So, and I can see myself rewatching it again, or like bits of it over and over again. So, also, if you enjoyed today's conversation, Please feel free to share it online with your friends, family, whoever that you think would like our content, that would like Bridgerton. We don't just talk about Bridgerton or historical romance. We talk about paranormal romance. We have some contemporaries. And we always dive into the topic of the monster within. So if that sounds like something that's interesting to you, please feel free to check out our other episodes if this was a first for you and you discovered through these. But also, yeah, like I said, if you liked it, please feel free to share it on your own social media. It helps us a ton to get more reach, get new people to discover us. If you want to reach us online, you can find us on Twitter at TheRTMPod, as well as on Instagram at Romancing the Monsters Podcast. If you'd like to email us, it's romancingthemonsterspodcast@gmail.com. TikTok is Romancing the Monsters Pod, and YouTube, just search for the name Romancing the Monsters Podcast, and you should be able to find us. If you're looking for me specifically, I'm on both Twitter and Instagram at Foes and Lovers.
And you can find me on both Twitter and Instagram at But This Book.
And you can find me, Steph, on both Instagram and Twitter at Pros with Woes. And also, please feel free to subscribe to any of the podcast platforms to our podcast if you feel like we've earned your subscription. And also, if you feel like you're in the mood to leave a review, you can leave one on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify.
If you've made it this far.
I'm like losing my voice.
Well, surprisingly, I'm not this time around, but yesterday I was after like an hour. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just thank you if you've made it this far. And hopefully we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.